Raiders!
Turn on a flashlight, flip a light switch, strike a match, just light something on fire. Welcome to Murf's Fan Cave from the Dago Dungeon. Join me, Uncle Mosh, as we join Raiders Fan Radio, taking a lighter journey into the dark side.
Okay, we're back. Look left, look right, Bolitnikov, a leaking pass, touchdown!
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.
Intercepted by Khalil Mack. Touchdown! Raiders!
The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most seamless, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play. Well, I love this team. I think this team can win.
What is up, Raider Nation? Your old buddy Murf welcoming you once again to another, what we hope to be, fantastic episode of Raiders Fan Radio. That's right, we're back here in the Fan Cave for episode number 93 of Raiders Fan Radio. But you guys know me. I don't do podcast selfies very much. I don't like the podcast selfie. So, of course, I have my my cohort, my companion.
I'm here.
The man that's going to help us march through this journey.
Wow.
This news cycle that we're in. Uncle Mosh, welcome to the show, Uncle Mosh.
Hey, glad to be here taking a lighter side journey through absolutely the dark side.
Oh, my goodness.
For sure.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts, Mosh. The news went down yesterday, and we're going to get into plenty of it here as we go on through this episode of Raiders Fan Radio. Thank you to everybody that's joining us here tonight already in the chat. Appreciate Raider Critique, Ron, Joe Cantrell, of course, Universal Artist, Raider Bear, Tyrion, Brandon, MCH, Anthony. There's a whole bunch in there already, Uncle Mosh. Everybody's anxious, of course, to talk about the big news in Raider Nation. But before we get to it, we do have a couple little things. So as I mentioned, this is episode number 93, and we, of course, are going to honor our player that we always do with episode 93. Then we're going to get into some other discussions. We're going to talk a lot about the history and the reference points to what's gone on here this week. We have a couple of interviews to get to. I have one with a really cool quick interview with an encounter that a member of our armed forces had with one of our Raiders. We're going to listen to that. We're going to get into a bunch of Sea of fans. A lot of the folks that are in the chat room, I know, are ones that have called in this week. And we had, Uncle Mosh, the Raiders Fan Radio hotline blew up this week. And so we are going to get to as many calls as we can. We're going to kind of scrap the formats and segments that we've done. We're going to do a lot of them still, but in order and interest of time, and in order to feature a lot of the calls, we're going to definitely get into the Sea of fans and kind of hang out there for a little while.
We have a lot of fun. We enjoy ourselves. We do, but there's some serious stuff we got to talk about.
We got to talk about it, man.
We got to talk about it. That's the elephant in the room, man.
Absolutely.
We got to speak to it, and we're going to speak to it, and we'll get it going here. We'll rock through it, and we'll trudge our way through.
Absolutely. As much as we love keeping it light, and as much as we like to play, there's also some pretty significant news to go over this week. So, anyways, we're gonna do that, and then we have to close it out this week. We have an interview with Jim Rutter. Jim is a Bay Area sports archivist, and he's also the proprietor of a new, I hesitate to call it social media site. It's more like a social sharing, but sports-centric site called yoursports.com. It's basically like social media minus all of the politics junk and all the other stuff. It's just sports, and it's fantastic. And he's been this is not a paid endorsement by any means. We just kind of got linked up through him through mutual acquaintances, and he set up our network. He set up Murf's Fan Cave as a network. He set up our 3 shows, and then getting to talking to him, I found out he was a Bay Area guy, and he's a freaking Raider fan. Man. So I'm like, come on the show. So Jim Rutter is going to join us here for our interview this week. But before we get to all that, Mosh.
What?
A couple things happened. All right. So one of the fun things that happened this week, something unique happened. During one of our last episodes, I used a voice and we were making fun of the Delicious Dish, the show that the parody show that's on Saturday Night Live.
Sure.
And I did something in a voice, and I did it like this.
Yes, you did.
Do you remember this, Uncle Mosh?
I remember that.
Well,
It was
somebody
a nice dish.
Somebody asked us on our channel if we could make an entire segment dedicated to this, which apparently is known as ASMR, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response.
Drives me crazy.
It does?
Oh my gosh, I hate it.
You do?
Oh, I hate it.
It's
huge.
It's huge. It's like big business.
It's the generation. Who are they now? The Ys, the X's, the Z's.
Generation Z is what we're in now.
They love it. They love it. And this ASMR. Of course, I teach theater.
Yeah.
And for my real job, one of our projects that we have to do is they have to do something that they're really into. I call it the passion project. Of course, mine's on history.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Boston Corbett, the guy that shot the president. We're talking about President Lincoln, right?
Okay, all right.
And I'll pull up pictures and tell really great stories, and they come up with this.
Oh, don't do that.
They'll listen to this stuff. They'll listen to this ASMR stuff for hours. And they'll be, hey, how you doing out there?
Yeah, exactly.
I hope everything's okay in life. It drives me nuts.
All right, well, somebody asked me about that, and so I think, Uncle Mosh, not today. We're not going to start it today, but I think I'm going to do an Raiders ASMR segment. And so so I'll do like football gloves on like a football making the noise and then just talking like this the whole time. Yeah. Should be very interesting. Anyway, so we got to hit up about that. All right, so let's get to it, Uncle Mark. Let's move on. We don't want to get too much in the weeds. We got a lot of show to get to. Let's not get too caught up in
I was going to suggest some brown liquor, and I'll come over and help you.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. Sounds good. All right, so Uncle Mark, so we get when all the news hit, it kind of overshadowed a couple things that were preliminary to that, and that is we had our last preseason game, the Raiders did, and we cut our rosters to 53, and we got a finalized roster. There is a such thing as earning your way onto a roster based on what your performance is in the preseason. We're not going to do a full game breakdown. You can see that stuff on Mondays with Mikey and Murf, where we gladly break down every stat. But Keon Hatcher, man, 8 receptions, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kid earned his way onto the roster. We were looking at, when Mikey and I were talking about what we thought the depth chart was going to look like at wide receiver, we certainly didn't expect Martavis Bryant to not be on there. We were kind of thinking Marcel Aitman had a shot to make it. I didn't expect not only Johnny Holton to make it, which I was kind of rooting for Johnny Holton, but now Keon Hatcher makes it as well. Like, that's pretty cool, right?
Well, and who threw him the ball?
E.J. Manuel, one of our best friends.
One of our best friends and a friend of the show, and he gets cut. So, the game was, I loved it. I was like, okay, this is EJ's game, man. This is it. He got the spot. And no. Sadly enough, EJ got cut. EJ got traded for AJ, right? Essentially, or we traded EJ for AJ. All right, so before we get going here, we're going to play some contact information. Then we're going to honor our player with number 93. And then I see you all asking about it in the chat. I promise you're going to get sick of hearing us talk about Khalil Mack tonight. We will get to it soon enough. Who?
That bear.
All right, boys and girls, pay attention. You got your old Uncle Mosh here with an update. That's right. I got some stuff for you. Take out a piece of paper, a pencil, a pen. Heck, use your pocket knife and carve the info into your dashboard as you're driving down the highway. First off, you need to like us on our fan page on Facebook. That's right. Go to Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Don't forget about the Twitter. Your old Uncle Mosh, he twits now. That's right. Go to at Raiders Fan Radio. Also, don't forget the Instagram at Raiders Fan Radio. Or what about our website? That's right, RaidersFanRadio.com. Heck, if you want to, you can even email us, show@RaidersFanRadio.com, or call us on the Raiders Fan Radio hotline, 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Don't forget Murf's Fan Cave on the YouTube, where you can get all the show links like the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. Find all our stuff on podcast providers like Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. All right, did I hit the time limit? Good.
All right, Uncle Mosh, here we are in episode number 93, and we always honor a player with our episode numbers. And so episode number 93, there is one guy, slam dunk, honorable former player to wear the number 93, and we're talking about one Greg Townsend. Greg Townsend played for the Raiders actually twice. He started in 1983 and played through 1997. In 1994, he went and played with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then, of course, he came back to rejoin the then Oakland Raiders in 1997. When you look at Greg's production over the history of his career, the guy had 109 career sacks, Uncle Mosh, with only 2 of those coming in Philly. The rest were all in a Raider uniform. And, he was Khalil Mack before Khalil Mack. I mean,
Absolutely.
This guy was, he was an absolute dominant defensive end for us. And so we like to celebrate Greg Townsend here with this episode of Raiders Fan Radio. And let's listen to a little bit of Greg back when he was a rookie playing for those pesky little 1983 Raiders that went on to win a Super Bowl.
There was a loss of 2. Shotgun. And down goes Woodley. Gave up the football. It was Rod Martin on the blitz. The play still moving. Goodbye. And Greg Townsend, a rookie from TCU, picks up the fumble. Down the field he goes, but credit that. Certainly an assist to Rod Martin. Fought through a block, got to Woodley, knocked the ball loose. 64-yard touchdown for the Raiders.
This is one tough football team. And we've told you all night about Rob Martin.
Probably their best linebacker. He's been voted the captain by the team. He's been voted MVP of the defense 2 of the last 4 years. He stripped the ball. Mr. Townsend, who deserves this touchdown. Look at him run. This is the defensive lineman you're looking at. Watch Rod Martin behind him. If you can see him, he made one great block for him, even though it was unnecessary. It was behind the runner.
We also told you about Townsend and Pickell. 2 rookies making it big.
A startling development. The Raiders already on top, 13-0. 64-yard fumble return. Great effort by Rod Martin and Greg Townsend.
Awesome stuff there from Monday Night Football when Greg, of course, Rod Martin hits Woodley there, creates the fumble, and then Greg Townsend picks it up. And not only does he pick it up and run into the end zone, he outruns the Miami offense into the end zone. And so,
And he didn't just do it for like 10 yards. He did it for 66 yards.
66 yards.
Yeah.
That's a long haul.
Crazy.
That's a long haul for a defensive end, man.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Townsend was just such a freak athletically. He was awesome. But Mosh, kind of fun listening to a little bit of Monday Night Football there. Can you name me those 3 guys that were in the booth there?
Do it again, 83?
83. Well, one's obvious, right?
Yeah. Gosh, who was still alive in 83? What was the starting lineup in 83 for Monday Night Football?
So that would have been, of course, Howard. No mistake in there. That was O.J. OJ, the Juice was on for like 2 years, I want to say.
Yeah,
and then Don Meredith. Exactly. Yeah. Pretty good stuff there. So anyway, so we definitely want to celebrate and honor Greg Townsend with our player this week. And let's go ahead and hit a break, Uncle Mosh, and then when we come back, we will talk about some trade or something that happened.
Something happened.
Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? This is EJ Manuel. You're listening to Raiders Fan Radio. Super excited to get this season back rolling, and I hope you guys are having a great offseason.
We had some interesting news that came up this week. Of course, we all woke up to a blockbuster trade, Uncle Mosh, that happened in Raider Nation. An unprecedented, historic trade that happened to kind of rock the foundation of Raider Nation. Everyone's gotten a clear-cut opinion about it. Some people are swearing off their fandom to the team. It's just absolute craziness. The Raiders traded a 5th-round pick to the Buffalo Bills to get A.J. McCarron.
Unbelievable that they did it that way.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
It's just nuts that we did that. When you look at the numbers, Mosh, when you look at that the Raiders, when the production of our 2 backup quarterbacks, which was E.J. Manuel and Connor Cook, when they rated out their final preseason ratings, E.J. Manuel had a 56.2 rating and Connor Cook had 49.1. A.J. McCarron's preseason rating was 69.4, so he actually outrated both of those backup quarterbacks, and we expected at least EJ or Connor to be on the team. We cut them both. They're gone. They're both gone.
See ya.
So here we got AJ McCarron. So it's going to be pretty interesting here that we will have AJ. And AJ McCarron and John Gruden have a history together. AJ was on John Gruden's quarterback camp. We do have some audio on that for you. We were going to play that, but man, we got so much to get to. We're going to skip that. But there is one other really kind of unique connection, and we'll play the AJ and Gruden thing later on. We'll play that on the next episode. But the other interesting connection is that Brent Musburger, who is now the Raiders announcer,
right,
has a unique connection to AJ McCarron, because Brent Musburger, if you remember back to the 2013 BCS National Championship game, he was highly descriptive of AJ McCarron's then girlfriend,
right,
and now wife.
Now, when you're a quarterback at Alabama, you see that lovely lady there. She does go to Auburn, I want to admit that, but she also Miss Alabama, and that's A.J. McCarron's girlfriend, okay? And right there on the right is Dee Dee Bonner. That's A.J.'s mom. Wow, I'm telling you, quarterbacks, you get all the good-looking women. What a beautiful woman.
Wow, A.J.'s doing some things right down in
So if you're a youngster in Alabama, start getting the football out and throw it around the backyard with Pop.
Jeez, did Brent go creepy there, Mosh?
Brent went a little stalker-esque there. But there's an A.J. McCarron Tennessee connection.
What's that? You love these connections.
I love the Tennessee connection.
Right.
I love them more than 6 degrees of Brent Musburger. But
because we met Kirk Herbstreit,
and
who was also calling that game. So yeah, exactly.
But A.J. McCarron's got a little brother, Corey McCarron, who started out at Alabama and ended up playing.
Let me remember. This is where did he go?
He transferred. Yeah, he played a year as a fullback at MTSU.
The other Raiders.
Which is the other Raiders that we support. Our Tennessee Oakland Raider connections.
Absolutely. That's a good one.
McCarron was destined to come here. He was destined to be a Raider.
Destined to be a Raider. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, good one, Mosh. Well, good stuff. And we welcome AJ. Of course, when we are just being a little jokey here, we know that that's not the big trade. The big trade. All right, here you go. The big trade that went down this week was Khalil Mack goes to the Chicago Bears. The tail of the tape looks like this. The Bears get Khalil Mack and a second-round 2020 second-round pick and a conditional 2020 fifth-round pick. The Raiders get the Bears' 2019 first-round pick, their 2020 first-round pick, their 2020 third-round pick, and a 2019 sixth-round pick. Khalil Mack has now become the fourth player, Uncle Mosh, to get traded after winning the Defensive Player of the Year award. He joins. You got the other three there that he joins company with.
He does. Jason Taylor traded in 2008. Pat Swillig, 1993, and Keith Millard, 1992.
Absolutely. So there's definitely precedent that this has happened before. So the Raiders don't buy into the hype. And there's going to be a lot of, you're going to hear us tell you a lot, Raider Nation. Don't buy into a lot of what the mainstream media tells you, as you hear from us a lot. If anything, I always encourage you all, go consume as much news as you can, preferably from those that have direct links to the team, like local beat writers like Jerry McDonald and Steve Corcoran and Vic Tafer and those guys. Assemble your own thoughts and then come up with your own conclusions. Don't listen to Colin Coward. Don't listen to Stephen A. Smith. Don't listen to, look, and as much as I love Jim Rome, don't listen to those guys. Listen to the local guys and formulate your own opinions. Don't buy into the hype on a lot of this garbage.
Exactly, Murph. And the stuff that we tell you, check us out. Call us on it.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Look it up.
Because we're doing the same thing you should be doing. We're checking it out for ourselves, coming up with our own decisions. Even you and I may not. I wasn't as shocked by it as you were, but I was. I was just like everybody else was. I was like, wow, didn't see it coming.
Absolutely.
I even went on the air a few weeks ago and said, Siegel ain't shopping him. He ain't shopping him. He's looking to get him a deal. Hey, I was wrong.
I was wrong.
He was shopping him.
Well, you know what? There was I thought for sure he'd get under contract.
We all did.
I thought secondarily that he would play this year on the option, and then the Raiders would tag him twice. I thought that was I thought trading him was going to be the last thing on the block. But the reason why was that, frankly, I didn't expect Khalil Mack to chase the money. And look, don't kill me for this, Raider Nation. We're going to go over a lot of numbers here in a minute. Ultimately, that's what it came down to. Came down to $3.5 million. That's why Khalil Mack is no longer a Raider. And you can have all the opinions in the world. That's the actuality of it. That is an inarguable fact that Khalil Mack is now going to make $3.5 million more than he would have with the Raiders. And that's what the decision,
bottom line.
That's the bottom line deciding factor. So now there's a lot of stuff in there that goes around this. So that's not, I don't want to boil it down that far to just know that that's the only thing. But look, at the end of the day, these things are about money. And at the end of the money, it's $3.5 million, and that's why he's not a Raider. So go over a couple of more things about the trade. It's an unprecedented trade, Mosh, as far as in terms of exchange of value. The most an NFL team historically has surrendered for a defensive player was when the Minnesota Vikings sent a number 1, 2 number 3s, and a swap of 5th-round picks to the Chiefs to get Jared Allen. So 2 number 1s for a defensive player. This is now officially the most trade or the most value ever exchanged for a defensive player. So if you think of it in those terms, Raider Nation, again, as we're all kind of trying to process this, essentially it's an offer they can't refuse, right? When you make an offer like that, it's hard to say no. I talked last week about how anything that wasn't nailed down would be for sale. Other than the people and the things that aren't screwed to the floor, I would sell anything I own. And you're the same way.
Absolutely.
Make me an offer dumb enough and you can have it. Like, it's just thing. Well, I think that's ultimately what happened here was that the Raiders, I don't think they were actively shopping Khalil Mack. I don't buy that narrative. I think they got made an offer they couldn't refuse. They made him literally a historic, unprecedented offer for Khalil Mack in value, and the Raiders took it. Now, why they took it, and we're going to explore that as well. There's a lot more things that have played into this, but ultimately that's what happened, that there was an unprecedented amount of value offered for this player, and the Raiders decided to do it.
And the thing that Raider Nation, all of us need to keep in mind is that we weren't out trying to get rid of Mack.
No.
We wanted Mack in the silver and black. And the offers were made to him. As it goes, the counter offers were larger. And we weren't ready to do that. Nobody's going to intentionally take a beating. And it's not going to happen.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, as far as the reaction goes, when, you mentioned that morning, I mean, I woke up and was kind of messing around on Twitter and waiting for something to come down because I knew it was cut down day. And then sure enough, there it popped, and it was like, my reaction was un-effing real. I can't believe, you have this, and I love the new term, generational talent. Everyone's now referring to him as a generational talent. The idea that we've traded this guy who's a, quote, walking Hall of Famer, the generational talent, the leader of our defense, the best player on our football team, one of your favorite modern-day Raiders, the idea that you wake up one morning and then all of a sudden, boom, he's gone, it's like, It hits you. Football's an emotional thing. Fandom is an emotional thing. So you get emotional when it happens. And so, I look at a lot of my reaction. I think a lot of Raider Nation's reaction to it is that just like the way, frankly, Bruce Irvin reacted. Bruce Irvin's first tweet of the morning was, no effing way. And then his second tweet about 10 minutes later was, okay, it's a business. Now it's time to get to work and let's beat those Rams. Okay, you got to look, it sucks. It's for those guys, it's a business in terms of Mack and Irvin and those guys. For us as fans, it's different because it is driven by emotion. But at a certain point, you got to kind of deal with it and look, that's it happened. So let's focus on the good part of it. The fact that he's gone is bad. It sucks that he's gone.
But you're right, Josh, but inarguably, who's his best friend on the team?
Derek Carr.
And what was Derek's tweet? I'm sad this is part of the game. It sucks. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I mean,
nobody wanted him back more than Derek Carr, I promise you.
But everybody understands it's part of the game. It's part of the game. I know where I was in 1975 when Bobby Bonds got traded.
Oh, wow.
I know where I was in 72 when Willie Mays went back to the Mets.
Ooh.
Wow. Catfish Hunter and Reggie Jackson both left the A's for who?
Oh, Yankees.
Yeah. What about Willie McCovey in 74 going to San Diego? Come on, guys.
Well, all of the A's that have ever been good in the last 15 years, 18 years. I made a joke post. I said, being an A's fan conditions you to not get attached to players.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'm surprised Khalil Mack didn't get traded to the Yankees because, whether it's Sonny Gray, Jason Giambi, Nick Swisher, and the non-Yankees, Miguel Tejada, you could go on and on with all the different great A's players that have come through in the Billy Beane era. And as thankful as I am that the A's have been good and competitive, it also sucks when Mark McGwire gets traded to the Cardinals.
Right. And
you know what I mean?
But nobody's bigger than the game. Nobody's bigger than the team. Stabler and Gruden were both former Raiders. You know? Come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And those that are saying they're talking about the Al Davis. Look, Al Davis did a lot of funky things towards the end, and we love him, and God bless him. He was the Maverick, and I referred last week about it being kind of crazy there the last few years. One of his last big deals that he was a part of was Nnamdi Asomugha, and not choosing to bring Nnamdi back. And actually, Nnamdi got out of his contract on a clause because he didn't have a pick, he didn't have an interception, he didn't have that's the same thing, by the way, a pick and interception. Sorry, he didn't have an interception, he didn't have a fumble recovery, there was like 3 things on his contract that said if you don't hit these things, you can option out, and he didn't, and so he optioned out. And but Al famously said, "Why would I pay him what I can pay 4 or 5 other guys to come in and do?"
And you know why? Because Al knew you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Bingo. Absolutely. And so when we look at the organizational level, when we look at what McKenzie's comments were, he says, myself, Gruden, everybody in the organization wanted him to be a Raider. It was never an issue of whether they wanted him or not. Of course they wanted him. They presented him with an offer at the beginning of the year, and it got countered by Mac's agent, Joel Siegel. What they were demanding was not realistic of what the Raiders had in mind. They were all on board to try to jump in and see if they could get it done, and in the end, it didn't work out. Mosh, all along, I was thinking Khalil Mack was going to get offered $20 million. I figured that was where he was going to come in. The reason being is that's north of Von Miller. It would have made him paid more than Von Miller, who is, look, I know he's a donkey and all that, but he's the most comparable player in the league. So make more than Von Miller would have, and it would have fit within the Raiders' needs and would have fit within their cap structure. And by all accounts, that's kind of what they offered him. They offered him the $20 million range, and Khalil Mack said no. Joel Siegel said no, and they chose to go with the Bears for $23.5 million, which is that average. This was never an occasion of the Raiders, all the BS, don't have money, didn't account for him in the salary cap, yada, yada, yada. All that's trash. That's all basura. How do you say it? Basura? I'm trying my Spanish here. It's all basura, right? It's garbage. None of that had anything to do with anything. It had everything to do with, do you want to commit that much money to a guy that, granted, he's only 27, but he's at his ceiling. He's going to be this good for the next 3 years. Sure. But then, look, Father Time is undefeated. He's going to drop off. And do you want to have that much money committed to someone over a 6-year period? It's just, the numbers just didn't work with what the Raiders' long-term goals were. And look, I get it. I mean, I don't like, again, none of this is not me apologizing for the Raiders. Khalil Mack, I think it's kind of a travesty as a fan that he's not a member of the team. But from a business perspective, from a numbers perspective, I get it. It makes sense. You had an opportunity to get an unprecedented amount of value for a player. That's what you do. And we're going to get into even more, Raider Nation. I'm telling you, I told you guys you're going to get sick of hearing us talk about this. We have some numbers here that are going to blow your mind. As far as how they relate to on-field success, it's going to blow your mind. So let's talk a little bit, Mosh, about why the Bears were able to get it done. When right after the trade was announced, a couple hours went by, and it was announced that the Bears gave him this monster deal where he's going to average this $23.5 million, $90 million guaranteed, whatnot. Let's talk a little bit about why the Bears could do that versus why the Raiders couldn't or didn't want to.
Sure.
You want to hit some of those numbers about their quarterback numbers?
It's crazy. The total value Like let's look at their quarterback.
Okay.
His value, his 4-year value.
We're talking about Trubisky.
Trubisky.
Yeah.
$29 million.
That's a total contract.
His total contract. It's worth less than the average value of Aaron Rodgers. His new deal was $33.5 million. And it's only a couple of $1 million average annual value out to Kirk Cousins. His was $28 million. Matthew Stafford, $27 million. To come in and pay this guy this unbelievable amount of money because they got it. Because they don't have anybody else.
Exactly. And that's where we're going to go with this, Raider Nation, is that you're going to find that there's been a new team structure essentially formulated in the NFL, a new recipe for success. And I say that it's new because we've talked about it off and on, but it's really starting to come to a head. But it's been going on, Mosh, for like 12 years.
12 years.
It's kind of happened underneath the radar a little bit on some of this stuff. But you guys, I hope you're going to find this as interesting as we did. So if you look at Mac's contract, so he's going to he counts towards the cap for only about $14 million this year. But next year it goes to $22 million and then $24 million in 2020 and in 2021. And at that point, the Bears have an out on the contract. Well, you know what else happens in the year 2021, Mosh, when the Bears have an out of this contract?
What's that?
Mitch Trubisky's going to come up for his contract.
Exactly.
You don't think the Bears are not dummies either, okay? They're going to bring Khalil Mack in and pay him quarterback money while they don't have to pay their quarterback. Because as soon as they're going to have to pay their quarterback, what's going to happen to Khalil Mack is what happened to Ndamukong Suh, and he's going to be out looking for another team to play for.
That's right.
I hate this, that somebody that should have ended their career in dang silver and black and should have been a career Raider and defined one of the partially the modern day legacy of the Raiders defense is now going to play for a minimum 3 teams in his career, and likely, Raider Nation, probably one on top of that. So this guy's probably going to finish out playing for about 4 different teams through the course of his career because of this stupid inflated contract that he had, and he can thank his agent for that. So now he's going to go from defining the legacy of the Raiders to being part of the legacy of probably a non-winning tradition for the Bears again until they jettison him for their quarterback. And even at a minimum, even if the Bears do work up to success, look, they're going to have to do it in the next few years. This is a team that won how many games? 3 last year. It sucks, man. None of this is good. It sucks as a fan. I think, frankly, it sucks for him. I'm glad he got this wealth. I don't begrudge anybody, Uncle Mosh, for any wealth they can generate. I'm a capitalist at heart, and look, and if it's $3 million additional per year is a lot of freaking money. I would never advise anybody to walk away from that. But what did it cost him?
Exactly.
What did it cost him to walk away from?
Did it cost him legacy? Did it cost him? I mean, being part of that team, these guys that they hire, the Seagulls of the world, they're good. They're good. They get you what you're worth. They get you what they can. That sometimes there's more to it involved. You're going to talk a little bit about some of these quarterbacks when we do the breakdown here, that 12-year breakdown, that have taken a cut in pay to win it. Derek Carr did it. Derek Carr took a cap-friendly deal. When you look at the way Derek Carr's structured, I know he's got that $25 million number, and I know it's up there as far as cap hit goes, but it's a very team-friendly contract. And he did it, when he signed the contract, he even said it. I took the deal I took because I wanted to leave money out there for other players to be able to get their deals done. Sure.
Well, one didn't.
Yep.
So Mari Cooper's coming up next, and I think, thankfully, we'll be able to at least retain his services. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what the actual contract. Again, we're talking about this contract stuff because I think that it's important to understand the contract structure, its relation to the league, and why the Raiders walked away from it. It's because, a lot of people want to go, oh, Reggie couldn't get it done. Mark Davis couldn't get it done, or they didn't have the money, or that. No, they could have done the Bears contract if they wanted to. They chose not to do it. And so
we're the team that we're focused on. But there's other teams around the league that have done similar contracts to what the Bears did. There's other teams that have, around the league that have let players go. You're going to touch on a handful of those right now. And it's crazy to think that, just because we let this guy go, we've got issues. We don't have issues. Bottom line is it's a business.
Yes. And Ndamukong Suh's contract with the Miami Dolphins was a nightmare for that football team. How many Super Bowls did they win? How many playoff games did they win when they had arguably the best defensive player in the league signed onto that football team? What did that equate for? I mean, it's just you got to look at the whole thing. So let's go around the league a little bit. When we look at right now, Mosh, there's one team in the league that has 2 players that account for more than $20 million on their salary cap. And it's just happened this last week also, and I'm talking about Odell Beckham and talking about the Giants. Odell Beckham, his cap number is $21 million, and Eli's number is $22 million. And really, that's kind of a discount for a two-time Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Sure.
When you look at the scheme of things. But anyways, there's one other team. So there's one other comparable that would have, if the Raiders would have paid him even 20, even the baseline 20, only would have been one other team that would have been a peer of theirs, let alone $23 million. It's just, you see, Raider Nation, like it doesn't make a lot of sense. It wouldn't have made a lot of sense for the Raiders to do this. Okay, also, Mac's contract. Uncle Mosh, his contract, I think it's 2020, it maxes out at 13% of the Bears' cap space.
One guy. One of 53.
One of 53 would have been 13%. That would be equal to what Derek Carr's is. Equal. Now, you can make the argument that, he is the quarterback of the defense, and he does have the same, and I see the chat going nuts over here too. Guys, we're not ignoring you, I promise. I'm going to get caught up to that as much as I can. We're on a roll here. I got a lot to get to, so we will definitely check back in on the chat. But you're not going to pay your defensive player a percentage of your cap more than you are your quarterback. It doesn't, there is not a precedent for that. It doesn't happen anywhere. Like, unless you're talking about these, and I'm talking about a franchise quarterback. I'm not talking about the chump that you get, or you know what I mean? Or I'm not talking about a Case Keenum that you pick up, or a draft pick or whatever. I'm talking about a franchise quarterback. You're not going to pay a defensive player a higher cap percentage than that. All right, so no other team even comes close, except for in 2021, there is going to be an occasion where this happens. You want to tell them who it is, Uncle Mosh?
The Rams.
The freaking Rams, and Aaron Donald is going to account for what of their cap?
15% of their cap. That's crazy. And I understand defense wins games. I understand, but 15% of your cap?
So 15%. So Jared Goff was a rookie in 2017, right?
Right.
He's going to play 2018, 2019, 2020, and guess what happens in year 5? They pick up his option, and Jared Goff can play his 5th-year option the same year that Aaron Donald is going to account for 15% of their cap. Then what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, my gosh.
Then either Aaron Donald's going to be playing for another team, or they're going to have to restructure a whole bunch. But you see where we're starting to go with this, Raider Nation? So these ideas that you start to see that there's a little bit of a formula that starts to come to play here. And so we're going to get heavily into the formula in a second, but I'm going to give you one last point on why the Raiders chose to not do this. Would you not agree, Uncle Mosh, that J.J. Watt, when healthy, is arguably one of the most dominant defenders in the league?
There's no denying it. There's no denying it. Super, does a lot for his community, absolutely.
Very similar to Khalil Mack. I know they're different players, different position,
but
kind of a different skill set. But,
exactly.
But you get my point, though, all right? Well, J.J. Watt has been injured in 2016 and injured in 2017. He is collectively in those 2 years, and I'm going to kudos to Ron on this because Ron and I were talking a little bit this morning about it. So kudos to him for bringing this up and kind of kindled my thought on this. J.J. Watt, 2016-2017, combined 23 tackles and 1.5 sacks. That cost the Houston Texans $29 million in cap space because they paid him all that money and he got hurt. Now, look, it's not his fault. Things happen. It's the NFL.
It's a collision league, man.
It's a collision league.
Hurt.
But the idea that you wrap up that much cap space and the guy gets hurt, is that really what the Raiders would want to do with Khalil Mack? You really want to tie up $90 million guaranteed into one player and bank on a hope that he doesn't get hurt? Because here's the thing is that if he gets hurt, not only does he account for that dead cap space or just that cap space in general that you got to pay for, but God forbid something happen and he leave, or he have to retire early because of injury or whatever. Do you know that you have to pay all that guaranteed money amortized in a 2-year period?
That's crazy.
$45 million a year. You with me, Raider Nation? These are monster numbers. The Bears are taking a huge swing on this. And they're only taking this huge swing because they don't have to pay their quarterback.
Exactly right.
It's just bananas.
Because they don't have the money going elsewhere. They might as well. They can afford to do that.
They can afford to do it. Absolutely.
It's nuts.
Right. So one last thing, Raider Nation. All right. And so here we go. We're going to draw some more perspective for this and some big picture thinking. It's my thesis, Uncle Mosh, that the Oakland Raiders are now forming into uncharted territory with the way that they're structuring their football team.
This is secret stuff.
You
figured this out. No one else knows
No one else knows this. But this is why you come. I would like to think. This is why you guys come and check out our show, because we like to put some thought into it. We like to put some research into it, formulate our opinion. Doesn't always make us right. Doesn't even, frankly, always make us accurate, but at least you're going to get an educated opinion, okay? We're not just up here screaming or doing a Colin Coward thing where we're just like, oh, you got to have whatever, blah, blah, blah. I hate that guy. Anyway, all right.
He's your favorite.
He's my favorite. Ugh. Here's what I got. I went through and looked at all 32 teams in the NFL, and to use my new favorite corporate term, I bucketed them, Uncle Mosh.
It means you put them all in a big group.
It means I put them in a group. I put them in 3 separate groups and 3 separate buckets, if you will. Okay? So these buckets are cheap quarterback.
Right.
High dollar quarterback.
Right.
And veteran quarterback at a discount.
Got it. 3 groups.
3 groups. So cheap quarterback being essentially guy on his rookie deal.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
You drafted well, he's playing well, and he's inexpensive.
Everything's good.
Okay? Dak Prescott of the Cowboys. And I'll just name the teams. Cowboys, Eagles, Bears, Bucks, Donkeys, Browns, Cardinals, Bills, Rams, Jets, Texans, Chiefs, Titans, Jaguars. All of those teams essentially have a cheap quarterback that they're working with. And
they're looking at, excuse me, they're looking at, this is what they're going to build on. This is their franchise quarterback.
Yes.
This is who they're going with.
Working on an inexpensive deal. Bortles is kind of in the middle because he's kind of got that half deal there, but for the most part, we're talking about Mahomes. We're talking about Mariota. We're talking about, Jared Goff. We're talking about now Baker Mayfield, right? So this is the guys that we're talking about, okay? In the Donkeys case, we're talking about Case Keenum, which is another kind of those halfway things, right?
But he's not high dollar. He's not the tier.
Absolutely
it's not the big
not.
tier.
Okay? All right. So that's your first bucket. Your second bucket is the high-priced quarterbacks. So Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, Derek Carr, Eli Manning, Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo, Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins, Cam Newton, Matt Stafford, Joe Flacco, Matt Ryan, Andrew Luck, and even Ryan Tannehill.
Right.
Okay, I put him in that, and he's another one you could kind of blur a line a little bit, but essentially that's the middle bucket. Okay, that's that middle high-priced quarterback bucket. And then the veterans at a discount, we got the Patriots with Tom, the Redskins with Alex Smith, the Saints with Drew Brees, and the Chargers with Phillip Rivers. These quarterbacks are essentially Hall of Famers. They've made all their money. They're working on less deals because they want the team to have more money to go out and do things with it, right? Tom is for a long time now taking less money because he wants the Patriots to be more
he's more dynasty involved instead of just the one and done.
Right, and his wife makes more money than he does anyway, so he's like the low earner of the house, right?
And so what is it? So much better looking than he is.
So you get where I'm going with this now, right? Okay, so we got the cheap quarterbacks, the high-priced quarterbacks, and the veteran quarterbacks at a discount. Uncle Mosh, from this last year when the Eagles with Carson Wentz and even Nick Foles, right, won their Super Bowl championship, rolling the clock all the way back to 2007, what is the one thing that every single one, mark me, Raider Nation, every single one of these Super Bowl winning teams have in common? What is it, Uncle Mosh?
They didn't win with a high dollar quarterback.
All of them were cheap.
Yep.
The Eagles won with Carson Wentz / Nick Foles. The Donkeys won with Peyton when he was one of those veteran guys taking a deal. The Packers won before they paid Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers won before they paid Roethlisberger. The Giants won before they paid Eli. The Seahawks won before they paid Russell. The Ravens won before they paid Joe. And the only one, there's a little bit of a compromise because Tom won on the discount. Drew Brees won it, right? Really before he got paid and now kind of on the discount. But when you look at who, you have to go all the way back to Peyton frickin' Manning in 2007, made like $11 million a year. And at the time that was considered high paid. That's the only freaking team. Now you can say to me, well, Murph, what about the teams that made it to the Super Bowl and didn't win? Like Cam Newton and Matt Ryan. Fair. That's a fair rebuttal. Sure. That's an absolute fair rebuttal. But when you look at the teams that nowadays, the formula in the NFL, overpay for your defense and hit on a young quarterback. Well, you know what? We've already hit on our quarterback and had to pay him before we had the opportunity to go out and overpay on defense. So if Khalil Mack would have been a freaking Raider 1 year before Derek Carr, guess what? The band would still be together. So here's what I'm telling you, Raider Nation. Here's the good thing. Mack's gone and there's nothing we can do about it. The Raiders knew that there was nothing they could do about it. But what they could do is that they could begin to reverse this trend right here. Because what this trend is telling us is that the path they were on doesn't freaking work. It doesn't work for anybody. So instead, what are they doing? They're accumulating draft picks.
That's right.
They're going to acquire as much defensive talent as they possibly can. And here's the last little bit for you. I think they knew it going into the freaking draft this year. There was a chance they weren't going to get Khalil, and that's why we drafted all those young studs. That's why we got Arden Key. That's why we got Mo Hurst. That's why we got P.J. Hall. And we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again. And I know this sucks for Oakland, but by the time they get to Vegas, they're going to have some monsters on defense, Uncle Mosh. You know our offense is going to be humming, and freaking John Gruden understands that. Don't buy this narrative that, oh, he's out of touch. Don't buy the narrative that Reggie McKenzie doesn't know what he's doing. These guys freaking know exactly what they're doing, and the numbers and the history of the league tells you that.
They're building through the draft. They're building it through the draft.
Take it. I got to take a break.
Good job. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's no way. And you know, the other thing about the year that Pepe won in 2007, that was the first year that the cap went over $100 million.
Amen. There you go.
So it's further proof to this scenario.
Yep.
You know, you can't deny it. You can't deny it. The numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie, man. And you know, this is now the window. You know, you hear about teams' windows a lot. You hear about their chance to win, you know, and everybody's got a winning window, except for the Patriots. So they defy the odds constantly because they don't have the window, right? But outside of them, I mean, you know, look at the Seahawks. Their window's closing just after they paid their quarterback, right? You know what I mean? Like, it just happens. All these defensive players that are now gone from the team. Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think they're not wanting to pay Earl Thomas? Because they had to pay Russell Wilson Jr. the third. That's why. Yeah. It's just economics, folks. It's just economics. So look, we'll close it with this, Mosh. You know, it was rough on us as Raider Nation. It sucks to see the guy leave. I wish him the best. I'm glad it's not on a team that we don't like. I'm glad he didn't go to the Cowboys. I'm glad he didn't go to obviously somebody within the division or the conference. They would never do that. But I'm glad that it's on, you know, the Bears, whatever. I'm kind of indifferent about the Bears, whatever. You know, see, it'll be fun to watch him and Roquan Smith play together like that. That'll be great.
You know, the best thing about the Bears is the old SNL, you know.
Bears.
Hey, you know, I got to say that as I was watching yesterday, I love social media for this kind of stuff. You know, I hate all that. I get so much
the craziness.
The political stuff is just, but this kind of stuff, we had, to me yesterday, it was fun watching Raider Nation get all wound up and then come back down. I got to tell you, a shout out for Emiliano. Emiliano was the voice of reason.
Nice.
You know, he was there. He was saying, Raider Nation, are we fans of a player? You know, and there was a bunch of them that were saying that. Are we fans of a player? Are we fans of Raider Nation? Are we fans of our team? You know, we got to put some. And again, I'm not being a front office apologist by any means. Don't get me wrong, but I got faith in them. I trust him. I trust Gruden. I'm not going to jump down Gruden. I mean, Sonny did a hilarious tweet. He did it with emojis. You know, he said, Gruden signed in January, and it was all these happy face emojis, right? And it said, Gruden in September, and it was all these sad, depressed emojis. And it's like, the guy hasn't even coached a real game yet. Come on.
Yeah, right.
You know?
That's too funny.
It's just there was a handful of folks that really stepped up and said, you know what, it is kind of like how you ended just now. It is what it is. He's gone. Let's move on. I know we talked about it. I know we're in mourning. I know it's too bad that he's not going to be part of our coming dynasty, and it will be. But you know, it is what it is.
You know,
man.
and I've seen some of these folks on social media that are like, oh, you know, that's it. I'm officially done. I'm like, what? You know, if it's that easy for you, then I question how much of a fan you were to begin with. Because if that's something that you can just turn off, well, then I question it. Because look, I mean, it's beyond a lifestyle for us, right? I mean, it's just Raider Nation is family. It's a whole different. It's not just like, oh, you know, okay, now I'm just going to go root for somebody. No, I can't. You can't just replace your fandom like that. Because if you can, then you weren't that much of a fan. And you know what? Then God bless you and go on and go be a Rams fan, whatever the hell you're going to do.
We talked about that earlier in the broadcast today of all those people that we've seen go. You know, it's not just us Bay Area folks. Other people have seen that. I mean, look at the people I hate to say it because it was the one and only time I ever bet on the Broncos in the 1970s.
Yeah, because
the Super Bowl against the
Cowboys.
Yeah. And frickin' Lyle Alzado, you know, and
your favorite.
Where does Alzado end up? He ends up as a Raider,
right?
You know, so people go, and you don't think the Donkey fans were crazy, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a series of restaurants. They all do that though.
Yeah, including Elway's that you barfed in front of. That was pretty funny.
It was terrible food. I didn't even eat there. I just walked by and smelled it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Emiliano because we're going to get to the Sea of Fans mailbag here in just a minute, Raider Nation. We're going to get to almost all the calls that came in this week. The hotline was fast and furious, but we're going to take a second, just kind of decompress. We're going to cleanse the palate from the Mac situation, and we're going to get back into it plenty with all of the calls. But first, before that, I got a real fun story coming up to play for you about an interview I had, just a little quick interview with somebody that had a really fun encounter with one of the members of our Raiders football team this week. So we're going to get to that here in just a sec.
Hey, just one time, I need it.
Raiders Fan Radio.
All right, Uncle Mosh, I probably should have scheduled for the Mac conversation to go 40 minutes because it did, but I didn't. So we'll kind of run through this story real quick, but I definitely wanted to get to it because it was really cool. I was scrolling through Twitter earlier this week, and I came across a retweet from Tyre Whitehead, newly acquired linebacker for the Oakland Raiders. By all accounts, is just going to be a beast for us. I can't wait to watch him play. The depth chart came out, Uncle Mosh, and I believe he's the starting weak side linebacker? Do I have that right?
He is. Weak side linebacker.
Yeah, starting weak side linebacker. So, guy's just a tackling machine and looking forward to watching him play for the Silver and Black this year. So, anyways, I saw this tweet, and basically he was retweeting someone else and said, no problem. And so I looked back at the original tweet, and it was from an Army Sergeant, David Marquez, who was thanking Tyre for helping him with a road breakdown on the side of the road.
That's awesome.
Sergeant was broken down the side of the road, and Tyre pulled over and helped him out. And so David reached out to him on Twitter and thanked him. Well, then I reached out to David, and I said, hey, you want to come on for a quick interview and tell us the story? And he said, yeah, I'd love to. And so I linked up with Sergeant David Marquez, and here's the story. And the reason I want to play this is that so often I think athletes get maligned. All you hear in a lot of the mainstream media is the bad stuff. And granted, look, I know that bad stuff happens, but bad stuff happens to all people.
Absolutely.
And good stuff happens to all people too. And not enough of the good stuff happens. You know, we hear a lot about Derek Carr, you hear about Russell Wilson, you hear about a handful of guys, but it's the little things you don't really hear about enough. And so I'd like to amplify that by sharing this story. So it's
because we need some good stuff right now.
Yeah, man, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. So here's just a little quick 6-minute interview that I had with Sergeant David Marquez. Raider Nation, next up here in Murf's Fan Cave, we'd like to welcome Sergeant David Marquez. Earlier today, I came across a tweet from David to Raiders linebacker Tyre Whitehead and thanking him for a roadside assistance call. And so we reached out to David, and David was kind enough to reach back out to us here at Raiders Fan Radio. And so we're going to talk to him a little bit about his experience. David, first of all, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about what happened.
First of all, I serve over in Dublin with the United States Army Reserve. And, I was driving my car right off Dublin Boulevard, and I got a flat tire. I pulled over, and I was having some issues trying to figure out how to take what later on I found out were plastic caps over the lug nuts. And next thing you know, this dude pulls up, asked me if I needed help, and I was just trying to be cool and like, no, I think I got it, and he made sure if I was all right, if I really needed help. And so I was like, yeah, go ahead, pull over, and I can probably use another hand. And he introduced himself, and like he was all Raiders out. I didn't know who he was. And I looked at his car. Everything was, silver and black. He's wearing silver and black. I'm like, you play ball or something? and and yeah, he introduced himself, and I was like, oh wow, that's great. And just started talking about football. And I thought he was a wide receiver, man. This guy's tall and skinny. I'm like, man, what do you weigh? Like 200 pounds? He's like, dude, like 230. I'm like, dang. Anyhow, but he was a genuine guy, man. He was just asking questions. What happened? Am I all right? Do I need any extra help? Whatnot, but I mean, he was right there with me, taking off the lug nuts and jacking up the car for me, and I'm doing some other stuff, and we were chopping it up pretty good for about 30, 45 minutes, just getting to know each other, where he's from, where I'm from, and it was a good deal, and he was just a real genuine guy, and with genuine concern, and he told me that he was a big military supporter, and he thanked me for my service, and it was all good. It was a really good experience.
Wow, that is so cool. Absolutely. You love to hear stories like that. So often I think athletes as a whole are maligned in the press because typically they'll just report the stuff that's going to get a lot of the national attention, and you hear the bad stuff a lot, frankly. And so it's awesome to hear a good news story, especially about one of our newly acquired players. So are you a Raider fan?
Well, growing up in Los Angeles, you would think I'm a Raiders fan, but I grew up a Niners fan. Only one in my family. Everybody else is a Raiders fan. I have an idiot cousin who's a Cowboys fan.
Well, we won't hold it against you that you're a Niner fan, but I'm glad to hear that your family, at least they're repping Raider Nation, right? So that's definitely cool to hear.
Definitely. I told him about it too, but I mean, it was all good,
He didn't get back in his car and speed off after you said you're a Niner fan?
He thought about it. He took a step. No. I mean, it was really great. I was very surprised about how concerned he was about, lending a hand and making sure I was all right. And, I saw that and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Go ahead, man. I can use the help. Prideful at the moment.
So are you now... So you'll be a little bit of a Raiders fan, though, right? Now on Sundays, you got to at least root for him, right?
yeah, definitely. I'll keep my eye out and give him some props, when it's necessary and everything. But I was just real surprised about how real true and down to earth this guy is, and it was impressive individual.
That's really cool. Well, David, we appreciate you sharing your story with us, and first and foremost, thank you. I'd like to echo the comments that Tyre made to you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your dedication to our country, and that is first and foremost above and beyond everything else. But it was good also to get to know you a little bit and hear your story. Now, when we do an interview, we always ask for a message to Raider Nation. So I feel weird asking a Niner fan for a message to Raider Nation. But how about this? You grew up in L.A., so were you there when the Raiders moved to L.A.? Were you... I don't know how old of a guy you are, but so you're aware of that now, and then you're aware when they moved back. What do you think now about the Raiders moving to Vegas? How about that? Let me ask you about that.
I really think it's a good idea. I think Vegas they probably don't need the extra money there, but it's probably good for it's good for the economy, the outside economy. I know Las Vegas and surrounding counties could use the help with generating some economy around there. So it's probably a good deal, and it's a good deal for maybe other Raiders fans that live elsewhere in different states that can have a central location to travel to. But I know LA Raider fans, they're going to go. They're going to support, no matter where the Raiders play. They got a good fan base.
Good deal. Well, again, thank you for everything that you do and that you've done for us. And anything you want to shout out, any plugs you want to give, anything you want to promote while we got you?
I I can't think of anything right now. I'm just I'm really I got a new respect for the Raiders, and he's a well disciplined individual, and he'd be a good representative to hold up the Raiders nation for military sponsorship. I don't know how they handle that, but he's definitely somebody that the Raiders management can look to for something like that.
Excellent. Love it. Good deal. Well, David, again, thank you for your time. Go ahead.
I'll just say, and thank you for your support. It means a lot that you guys, look out for us too at the same time.
Heck yeah, man. I mean, look, you got a knucklehead like me and able to do a podcast. It's only because of people like you that, protect us and serve your country and all the wonderful things you do to ensure our freedom, man. It's like, I mean, I'm humbled that people like you exist. You know what I'm saying? So thank you to you as well. So awesome. Well, good deal. Well, hey, enjoy the NFL season. I hope the Niners don't make the playoffs, but I hope you find a little bit of Raider in you now to root for Tyre Whitehead on Sundays.
Yeah, just a little bit. But, I hope we do make the playoffs. And maybe, God willing, Raiders and Niners can meet up in the Super Bowl. How about that?
Hey, there you go. And I'll like full disclosure, I have a brother that's a Niner fan, so he'll be glad to hear that I got a Niner fan on the show finally here.
What a winner, right?
Well played.
Throw that in there.
Well played. All right, David. All right. Appreciate your time today, bud. Have a good rest of the day.
Taking my call.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you. Bye-bye. All right, Uncle Mosh, there is Sergeant David Marquez. Pretty cool little story there,
what
huh?
A great guy, man.
Yeah.
Well, both of them great guys.
Absolutely.
How awesome is that? Tyre Whitehead just pulling up and saying, hey, man, let me help you.
Let me help you.
And I love how Sergeant Marquez says, nah, man, I'm good, I ain't gonna ask.
No, you're not.
I'm not gonna ask for directions, and I ain't gonna get help. But yeah, okay.
Yeah,
go ahead. And then he goes, yeah, he jacked it up. He changed the tire. I want to know what Sergeant Marquez was doing. Taking pictures.
Yeah, I would have been. Yeah, I'd have been like selfieing. Look at Tyre Whitehead in the background.
Oh, that's so cool.
No, that's
man.
a very
that
cool
is
story.
So cool.
So yeah, can't thank him enough. Obviously for his commitment to our country and our freedoms, and that's not just rhetoric coming from us, man. We mean it when we say that stuff, and I truly am humbled that people like him exist, man. That's the military service, like yourself, and I know that a lot of the folks in our chat room. I know that Joe.
I mean, your dad was a Vietnam vet. My dad was World War II and Korea. It's in our family.
Absolutely. Man. So we just appreciate you all and what you do. It's very, very cool. So, anyways, yeah. So good story there from Tyre. So we're going to use Sergeant Marquez's call there or interview as the kickoff, Uncle Mosh, for the Sea of Fans mailbag. And the Sea of Fans mailbag was jam-packed this week. And we're going to start off with an email right after we hear your favorite intro.
There he is, fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's caught, he throws. It is. Oh, he caught it.
The podcast people, they don't see us when you play that intro.
No, they don't.
And the YouTubers know, but both of us, we have to pull our headsets off because you won't turn the volume down on that stupid screeching thing you got going on. Sorry.
All right, so Uncle Mosh, give us the first dive into the Sea of Fans mailbag is an actual piece of mail. We got an email this week from UK listener Paul, right?
Absolutely, Paul Edgerton. And he says, evening, Murf and Uncle Mosh. Actually, it's afternoon to you guys, and he's right. I voiced my Mac reaction on Twitter a couple times, but I need to vent a little more. There's not enough room on Twitter, so I need you to be my psychiatrist for a minute or two. So, psychiatry moment with Mosh and Murf. Here's what he has to say. My shock at the trade is the same as everyone else's, really. But as more and more comes out as to why there was no deal in Oaktown, the more I'm coming to terms with things. We all want a team, not just a few iconic Pro Bowlers. And we have to trust the powers that be that their aim is the same. We won't know for a while whether or not the deal was a work of genius or a total bust. Only time will tell that. All that being said, it's a huge shock and a disappointment that Mac's gone. The one thing I can't understand in some Raider nations, the one thing I can't understand is some of the folks in Raider Nation saying they won't watch the team anymore. They've had enough and have turned their backs on things. Look, I know it's a shock, an anger, a disappointment, and it's only a small minority, but I thought that Raider Nation was made of stronger stuff. We've been through a lot worse, right? It's been a tough weekend, and things seem to be happening all over the place at this moment. Let's hope for some calm soon. There's a season to play, let's not forget, and we need a positive start more now than ever. I feel better now. Thanks for listening, and I'm looking forward to this show as ever. I need to hear voices of reason. Forever Silver and Black, Paul Edgerton. Well, Paul, you'll get my bill in the morning. And as far as voice of reason, we've got a list of other podcasts where you can probably get that. Paul,
good deal.
All kidding aside, great email. Great way to put it, too. Guys, just like we said earlier, this is a team sport. This is not a who's got the best Pro Bowler, who's got the best individual. Let's get together and root for the Silver and Black. The Silver and Black is back.
Oh, awesome. Absolutely. Well done, Paul. Thank you for the email, of course, as always. And, if you want to send us an email, you can send them to show@RaidersFanRadio.com, or you can email us individually, Uncle Mosh at Raiders Fan Radio. You can email me, Murf at Raiders Fan Radio, or you could email even at Murf Fan Cave. Like, it's not hard to find us. But yeah, send us an email, and great job, Paul. Thank you, Uncle Mosh. John Gruden's getting ready to do his press conference on the Khalil Mack situation, or the departure. So our chat room is probably going to go from however, I don't know, it's a very busy tonight. It's probably going to go to nothing here in a second. And I don't blame him. Go find out what's going on, guys, and then come back and tell us.
That's right. We've got it taped, so we'll talk about that next week.
So come back and tell us. But anyway, so let's get in now to some of the calls. It's funny, Uncle Mosh, there's a line of demarcation in the calls this week. There is the PM calls, the pre-Mac.
Yeah.
And there's the other PM, the post-Mac calls.
Nice.
And the tone of the emails changes, we'll just say that. So first off, let's go to caller in the 559. That's down in Fresno, California. Didn't leave their name, but pretty sure the 559 is Fresno.
Hello, Murf. Hello, Uncle Moss. Just first time caller, long time listener. What I talked about is Khalil Mack. At this point, he's under contract. He may want an extension, but he needs to be in camp. Needs to be there. If he wants to sit out for games, my viewpoint is let's trade him. Let's get something out of him. If he doesn't want to be a Raider, he doesn't. Let's get someone else. If he wants to be a Raider, he needs to be there and play. He's under contract. That's got to stop. If he once he comes in, I'm the first person to say let's get him as $20 million plus. But until then, he needs to show up. He's already under contract. And as far as everything else, let's go Raiders. We got a good year coming up, and listen to you on the next show. All right, bye.
Hey, so Uncle Mosh, so very interesting there. Thank you for the call, by the way. But very interesting there. You want to negotiate, get into camp. The Raiders have often said, we don't negotiate, or Reggie has said, we won't negotiate you if you're not in camp. That's what Al would have told him. Al would have made him play out his last year and then would have negotiated his contract after he became an unrestricted free agent. But, I think that Mack is not getting enough criticism, frankly, for the way that this was that he dealt with this. There was no communication with the team. Now, you could say that the phone calls both ways, and that's fair. But the Raiders reached out to him and made him an offer, and he didn't return the communication, and he didn't show up for camp. And, so I don't know. I think that's a very, very fair criticism, Mosh. What do you think?
I agree. It's amazing. Got these guys. They have this wealth of athletic ability, and so you pay them for that. You make them part of the team, part of the family, if you will, part of the nation, if you will, and you expect them to do a job for what they're compensated for, and they're compensated fairly. And then when it's time to renegotiate, they still have that portion that they're responsible for. And that's what our caller from 559 was saying. You have an obligation, you have a responsibility to the team, and we know that you've got a contract coming up, but if you're not willing to uphold your end of that bargain, that you said you would do, well then how should we treat you? How should we respond to you? How should we look at you saying, well, wait a minute, you said you would play through this season, and then you're holding out and you're not reporting to camp, but that's part of what you said you were going to do. That's part of what we paid you all that money for. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, holdouts work. I mean, it's a proven fact that it works.
Doesn't mean it's right.
But doesn't mean it's right. That's exactly right. And popularity does not always dictate taste, as they say.
Sonny.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to – I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But Sonny had a really great tweet earlier in the day, and he said, I enjoyed Mac, but our defense wasn't great or even good with him. I'd rather have quality at many positions than elite talent at one, hoping that the Raiders use the draft picks well like they did this year with Hurst, Hall, and Key.
There you go. Perfect.
Great insight.
Absolutely great insight. Good text, Sonny. Sonny, we almost got him. We almost pulled him out of or not we. Khalil Mack almost pulled Sonny out of retirement for this episode, but he said he goes, "No, you guys got some good momentum going. I don't want to ruin it for you." All right, let's listen to our buddy Wyoming Raider.
Murf, Mosh, Wyoming Raider here. Well, preseason's over. The new season's starting. Still got no Mac, but all in all, I think we're looking all right. Preseason was coached better than old Del Rio did. Nothing against the guy who brought us where we are, but in Gruden we trust, right? So, I don't know, the Max still ain't there, still ain't signed. Well, what are you going to do? I think he'll sign. I think we'll get that done. Reggie just needs to pay the guy. Of course, Mac needs to show up for work. Well, I heard, maybe Gruden's talking about trading him off for a whole bunch of picks, and, maybe that's how we build the future. Who knows? It worked for Walker, didn't it? I don't know. I think he'll sign. But what do you think? You think maybe I seen an ad. They were looking for 2 first-rounders. I think that seems a little low for him. Anyway, appreciate you guys keeping this thing going through the off season. Liking the new network. Hopefully, I'm thinking 10-6. What do you guys think? Anyway, keep up the good work. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Wyoming Raider. As Ron mentions in the chat, a lot of guys mentioned in the chat, he's got a great voice, and Ron mentioned his story about his kid watching the game was great.
Oh, my God.
Do you remember him telling that story?
That was the best.
It's one of the best. It's so funny.
I could hear Wyoming Raider say the word Del Rio. I love when he does that. I love when he says that. But, hey, we need to call him Wyoming Foreshadowing.
I know, right? He nailed that one, didn't he? Yeah.
Holy Mac, good job, Wyoming Raider.
Absolutely. And you know what? And so here's the line of demarcation I mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, here it is. Here's Wyoming Raiders' call after the Khalil Mack trade.
Murf, Mosh, this is Wyoming Raider again. Raider Nation seems to be in full-on panic mode today. And I'll admit I thought I was prepared for Mack to be traded, but not going to lie, it hurt a little bit this morning when I seen that. But everything calmed down. Everybody realized that, Chucky's he's building the future. In the next 2 years, we got 4 number 1 picks. So it stings, it sucks. We got Hurst, Hall, Key. Those boys are going to have to put on their big boy panties and step it up. But I think, all in all, we'll be all right. Wish Mac the best. Hope he has fun up there freezing his ass off. But, he got paid. The guy earned his money. So we'll be all right. Everybody needs to settle down. We'll be all right. And go Raiders. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
There it is. So, yeah, Raider Nation was definitely losing its mind. Yeah. I was one of them, man. I was one of them. What do you think, Uncle Mosh?
Full-on panic mode.
Full-on panic mode.
I love it when he goes, yeah, I saw it first thing this morning. That's probably after he rode 40 miles of fence, killed 3 bobcats with his teeth. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love that guy.
I love that guy. All right, next up, Uncle Mosh, we're going to go out to the east coast of New Jersey and hear from, it's a little bit of a muffled call. Hopefully you guys can pick it up. If not, we'll definitely talk about what he has to say. Hear from somebody we hadn't heard from in a while. We're going to hear from Yayo.
Hey, what's up, man? Uncle Mosh. It's Yayo from Jersey. I haven't hit you guys up in a while. Listening to you all season. Again, man, today, Saturday, this one hurts more than the Super Bowl, man. I ain't see this one coming. Feel like it's going to hurt for a long time. I know we go on say, like, we're going to get 2 first-round picks or whatever, but still, Matt, leave it up to you guys to check out to say. You keep listening. Still Raider Nation, baby. Gotta be safe. Sunday, you too.
Still Raider Nation. I'm with Yayo on that one. And something that stood out to me on his call was that he said it hurts more than the Super Bowl. He's talking about when we lost to Gruden, right? We lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's kind of like, I'm trying to think back to, the Vegas announcement was, I'm trying to think of like the emotional hits that you take as a Raider fan.
Sure.
The move to Vegas was a big one. Obviously the Super Bowl was a big one. The Tuck rule, even though that was a kind of on-field thing, but that one stung pretty good. But of recent Raider history, losing Charles Woodson was a big one for me, because Charles Woodson still to this day is my that one hurt.
Yeah,
man.
but
that hurt a lot.
The worst when DC went down.
Oh,
that's the worst.
Yeah,
to me,
that was a big one.
That was worse than this. That was worse than this.
Yeah, you think so? When he got hurt? Yeah, that was a big. Yeah,
we were seeing the end of our season, man.
Yeah, that's true. And there was and it's the unknown, right? It's the
gosh,
it's the unknown. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But yeah, great call there from Buddy Yayo. Definitely give us a call back as we go through the season. All right. New caller to the show, Uncle Mosh. This is our new old friend, Joe.
Mosh, Murf, Mojo Raider from San Diego, a made man Max's dad. The Max situation made me a first-time caller here. I wanted to see this guy in silver and black for life. Obviously a future Hall of Famer. This ain't the end of the world. Let me give you a quick history lesson, Raider Nation. 1989, Cowboys traded Herschel Walker for 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks. I know we're not getting all that from Mac. They got Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and a handful of other guys. End up winning 3 Super Bowls, 93, 94, 96. What's the moral of the story? One player, no matter how good, isn't worth mortgaging the future of the entire franchise, okay? Think about what Gruden and Reggie can do with these extra draft picks in the first round. Look how good the rookies that they picked this year did in the preseason. Let's see what happens. Love Mac. Always will. Going to be rooting against the Bears. Really, really hard for a while, but it ain't over. Stick with it. It's Raider Nation for life, right? High times, low times. Let's do it. Just win, baby. Out.
Great call, Joe. Nicely done for the first one ever here to the Fan Cave on Raiders Fan Radio. Absolutely. Max, his son, is a made man. First time his call was great because, chanting Raiders on his first call, it was too cool. And Max represents Raiders Fan Radio at school. Wears his Raiders Fan Radio shirt, which is also very, very cool. But anyways, so that was Max's dad, Joe. And, man, he nailed it, right? Like, what a great call.
Yeah, a little bit too much Dallas history there.
Pump the brakes on the Dallas history.
There's a cowboy in the woodpile somewhere,
But he's right.
But he's dead on.
He's dead
on the money.
Absolutely. All right, so next up, let's go to Uncle Mosh. We have another old friend of the show, but this call, we're going to feature him for now the third time.
Ken.
So, Ken, we have a new made man in here on Raiders Fan Radio. So if you called the show 3 times and we feature your voicemail 3 times, you become what's known as a made man. And we have special music that we'll play for you here in a minute. But first, let's listen to the call. Let's go hear from our buddy Ken.
Yo, Murf, Uncle Mosh, Lil Murf. That's Monster Mash Ken. It's a dark day today. But you know what? I'm going to put it out like this. I might rant for a few minutes, but I'm going to get my point across. Point 1, on your opening theme, you got to change where Greg Papa's saying touchdown, Khalil Mack. You got to change that touchdown, Lil Murf. All right, point number 2. I have a 3-month-old daughter. Her name is Lily Mackenzie Mack. That was my whole thing when she was born. I would name her after Khalil Mack, Lil Mack. So I'm screwed there. I got to figure that out. Point number 3, like any corporation, this is a business. With new leadership, you're going to clean house. Gruden's going to see things how he wants to see them. He's going to get the players he wants to play with. And you know what? It is what it is. We lost Mac. We offered him the $20 million. He put himself above the team, or his agent put himself above the team. If he wanted to be there, he would have been there in training camp. He would have been there, just like Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham's a pain in the ass, but you know what? He was there. He wanted to be a Giant. Mac didn't show up. Got an offer that was pretty damn good. You have 2 players on your roster for over $20 million. It's pretty awesome. You know what? We let him walk. Maybe we flip one of those first-rounders for Earl Thomas. Who knows? But you know what? Trust the process. Point number 4. And this is one thing I've learned from listening to you guys is to be positive, be a positive Raider fan. And you know what? I'm a Raider fan. This is Raider Nation. This isn't Mac Nation. You know, I bleed black and silver. These guys, move them to Vegas, move them to Texas, move them to Hawaii. You can move them to my girlfriend's backyard, my ex-girlfriend's backyard. Still be a Raider fan. No matter who's playing for the team. So we're not the good guys. We're not the bad guys. We're the other guys. We're the guys that nobody likes. We're the guys that we're always playing from behind. And you know what? That's who we are. We're Raiders. Raider Nation. Let's stay positive. We haven't even took a snap yet. Love these guys. I always will. Trust the process. Uncle Murf, our Uncle Mosh, Murf, you guys are keeping it real for us, all right? Let's get through this off season. Bring on St. Louis. Thanks, guys. Take care, bye.
Man, we love Ken. And Ken, we love little Lily McKenzie. It's okay.
Lily McKenzie Mac. That's pretty cool, by the way.
Hey, and the coolest thing about Monster Mash, Ken, is that Ken made. One of his best points was he's a Raider fan. Of course, that was point number 4 of 3. But
don't give him crap. He's a made man now.
Ken, you're a made man, bro. You are a made man for sure. You are a made man. You showed you are part of the family by participation. By chance, a man like yourself should make enemies, then they would become my enemies. Showing you are a friend of Raiders Fan Radio, you have leapt across the line. Friendship is everything. Friendship is more than talent. It is more than the government. It's almost equal to family. Be loyal. Made man, Raider fan. Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me. But until that day, accept this as a gift. And don't ever forget, words can hurt more, but silence can break hearts.
Congratulations, Ken, the newest made man here on Raiders Fan Radio. That was awesome. Great call. Great contributor, man. He's been awesome.
He's done something that no one's done before. He's a made man and did it 3 weeks in a row.
3 in a row. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Bang, bang, bang. Absolutely. So he joins a handful of guys. One of our made guys, Chuck McCann, actually now has his own podcast on our network. So that's
awesome.
Pretty cool. So I'm going to try to do them off the top of my head. So there's obviously Q-Dog and Chuck.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's Johnny in San Diego. Then there's Junior in San Diego.
Right. We have the
Wyoming Raider. Right. Who else am I missing, guys?
Greg
made in Tennessee. There's Greg. I probably should have came up with the listener because I'm trying to do it off the top of my head. Someone's gonna get mad because I forgot it. Well, Max, made man Max. Let's see. Oh gosh, I'll have the list up before we get done with this segment.
We need to post that on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely get that up. But anyways, so let's go with next caller here. We have a caller, Uncle Mosh, back to the 559. I don't think it's the same caller, but another caller. And what's with you guys in Fresno? You don't leave your name.
Yeah.
But anyways, here we go. Another caller in the 559.
Hey, Murf, just calling in to give my little opinion on the situation with Khalil Mack. I don't know, I woke up this morning and I seen that, and at first I was shocked, kind of like I lost my own personal job. Then I had to get back to reality and says, what is this really going to affect me? How is this really going to affect me? Going back and forth, personally anyway. So my first thing is, the good thing is he's not in our conference. Obviously, that's going to be good. That's the positive of it. Supposedly, we're getting 2 first picks and some other picks. We better hit on those picks, man. Similar to when we got Gruden and Al Davis got those 2 first picks. I think we picked Fabian Washington, and I can't remember the other cats, and those guys washed out quick. So we were the laughing stock. That goes to the Raiders seem to always do something to put themselves in the bad light. Gives good commentary for all the radio heads here just to talk shit on us. So that's the thing, I'm thinking about. The bad thing is I just hope our D-line, our linebackers are the real deal, that this was worth everything they thought, that Khalil Mack giving them away. That's all, man. I guess I'm still kind of in awe. I just want to see what's going on. I guess now we'll just see all the shit everybody's going to talk about, the bad moves where the Raiders did.
All right, keep up the good work. Love the show. Love Uncle Mosh. You guys stay good, man. Later. Go Raiders.
You know what I love about the 559?
Go ahead. And then I'm going to crack you up.
They'll say anything. They don't care. Witness protection is a wonderful thing.
All right, so great call. Appreciate you calling. Definitely call us back. That was a great call. So, not to derail the whole thing here, but I've completely alienated like all of our made men.
Oh, and there was about
them,
9 other, and they're all on their chat room right now. They're cussing you.
Yes, they are.
All right, get them, guys. Get them.
So I'm so sorry. So
say their names quick, before they're at the doorstep.
Ron says 23 and a half donuts or we walk. Oh my gosh!
These guys know the show better than us, and we can't even. We don't start a show without Ron.
Oh my! I know, and I forgot him.
So you forget him.
All right, so Jimmy Zebach. All right, so Jimmy, and look at what shirt I'm wearing. I'm wearing the Great Lakes Raiders Booster Club shirt, and I forgot Jim Zebach, the president of the dang fan club. So anyway, so Jimmy Zebach, Johnny in San Diego, Chuck McCann, Ron, of course, in Alliance, the Dakota Raider, Aaron the Q-Dog Raider, Red in Yakima.
Oh, my God.
I forgot Red.
We got both of these guys coming up.
I know. Jim on the East Coast, Yayo, who we heard from tonight, Big Raider Trucker, Emiliano, who we've already talked about him like 3 times tonight. I forgot him. Wyoming Raiders, I mentioned. Then Diego in Georgia. I was thinking there was another Diego. It was not San Diego. It's Diego in Georgia.
Diego in Georgia, right.
Junior in San Diego has 2. He needs another one. Andrea needs another one, and Jose Valencia needs another one.
Go.
Those are the guys that are on the bubble there. But anyway, so
how funny.
So yeah, so
sorry guys.
Sorry
for my partner. He's still trying to figure out the cap.
Oh my God, I know, right? Yeah. I'm all befuddled. All right, so let's go. Let's hear. So speaking of one of those made men, let's hear from our buddy Emiliano, Big Raider Trucker.
What's going on? The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Big Raider Trucker, checking in from South Oakland, aka San Diego, California. So I'll let you guys know a lot has been going on this past couple days. A lot of people are pretty butthurt about this Khalil Mack trade, but you know what? It's really hard to say, but you know what? Gruden's got a plan. He wouldn't have done this for no reason. And all I'm going to say is I'm not on the bandwagon. We didn't need him, blah, blah, blah. What I'm going to say is, when is the last time a defensive player has gotten paid this much and done something in the following years? That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon. We didn't need him. He will be missed. The only thing that concerns me is, did or did not John Gruden lose the locker room with this trade? We will see. I'm excited to see this defensive front. John Gruden has a vision, and all I'm going to say is he's taking the Belichick way. I know, Raider Nation, we don't want to hear that, but let's be completely honest. The that we've been doing this past couple of years has not been working. So, when it doesn't work, literally take this to the ground and rebuild up. Whereas, you know what, Raider Nation, the only way to go when we've hit the rock bottom is up. That's all I will say. Big Raider Trucker checking out for San Diego, California. Go Raiders. Great things are on the horizon. Raider out.
He's great.
He's great.
You know, you mentioned his kind of his rational mind that he had through while the rest of us were kind of freaking out.
Yep.
He was able to kind of maintain focus on it. And, you know, one of the things that I like that he said, and not just because I'm looking for some validation or anything, although that's nice, but he mentioned, you know, Gruden's doing things different. Like, and I've never been one to get upset when the Raiders do something different. What upsets me is when they're rudderless. When Jack Del Rio doesn't have an idea of what's going on and he's reacting week to week, that's the stuff that drives me crazy. Look, you may not like Gruden's plan and it may not work, but there's a clear-cut direction that the Raiders are now going in, and that's okay. Like, that's a good thing. So look, it may not be what we had expected he was going to do, but he's doing something, and it's a path. And you formulate the plan, you stick to the plan, you execute the plan. That's the whole point. And so I like that approach, and I'm glad to hear Emiliano say that as well.
Emiliano brought up the fact that he's not afraid to make some changes. You know, he's not afraid to make changes. The one thing I would like to touch on that he said is, you know, I don't know if Gruden's lost the locker room or not. Well, you know what? Mac wasn't there in the locker room.
Yeah, that's true
to
too, right?
To have the locker, how can you lose it if you don't have it? And so many of the guys from Irvin to Carr to everybody else everybody was in shock to start with, but they all ended up tweeting later on, hey, we're moving on. We're moving forward. We're going forward. It is what it is. It's part of the business. We accept it. We don't necessarily like it. We mourn for the loss, but we're moving on. It's part of what we do.
Absolutely.
We're pros. You know?
That's it. Absolutely. You know, they don't have that emotion. Their emotion is fleeting compared to like what ours is, right? Where it's long term. All right, let's see. We got a couple more here, Uncle Mosh. Let's hear from our buddy Red in Yakima.
What's going on, Murf? Uncle Mosh, Red up here in Yakima. Thought I'd call in real quick, touch bases. Dismantling of the Seahawks looked pretty good. And what do you guys think about the Khalil Mack trade? We give a 2 future first-round picks and a bunch of other picks thrown in there too. I guess I like to say is I seen it coming. You know, once Khalil Mack tried to make himself bigger than the Raiders, he had to go. I mean, and nobody knows that better than old Chucky Boy himself, you know. Hopefully it works out for the best, you know. I think Chucky will make the best out of those draft picks we got, and our defense looked a lot better than it has looked in the past couple years without Khalil Mack. I know it's the preseason and all, but I guess we'll find out on Monday. Take it easy, guys. Go Raiders.
Apparently his kid was upset about the trade, too.
Devastated. Children were devastated about it. All over Raider Nation.
All over
children
Raider
cried.
Nation. Well, that was collectively, that's what we sounded like yesterday morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you, Red, for the phone call. And, you know, we'll just gotta kind of see how this thing all pans out, man.
Plays out.
Let's see how it plays out. All right, so here we go. We got one more Uncle Mosh. And so don't you know what? We saved one of the best for last. We've had some great calls tonight, by the way. Certainly in no ranking order. But I saved Ron's for the end because you mentioned the other day about having some sort of a contest when it came to catchphrases.
Catchphrases,
and
yeah.
so
Taglines
listen
and
for the end of Ron's call because
Nice.
he hits us with a catchphrase, and it's pretty dang funny. Okay, here we go.
Murf, Mosh, what's up? This is Ron. Figure by the time you get to this voicemail, you'll be sick of Mac talk, so throw out a couple taglines for you. The first one is, may the autumn wind fill your sails. The second one is, whether Super Bowl wins or off-season debacles, our love for the Raiders comes straight from our cockles. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Super Bowl wins.
You want to do it again?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Super Bowl wins or off-season debacles, our love for the Raiders comes straight from our cockles.
Tell them the reference to that.
Yes. So, gosh, I don't even remember where it came from. We talked about loving something from the cockles of your heart.
I gave like a Webster's definition or something.
Cockles.
What a cockle was.
Yeah, and it's like your heart valves or something, right?
Oh my gosh.
So here, you want that one more time so you can. Here we go.
Super Bowl wins or off-season debacles, our love for the Raiders comes straight from our cockles. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Oh my gosh!
Good job, Ron. Good job. All right, Uncle Mosh. I think we got any more? Is that the last one? I think that's our last one here from the. What am I trying to say? It's your show, Murf. Spit it out.
See you, fans mailbag.
See you, fans mailbag. Thank you very much. So if you want to be part of the Sea of Fans, you can call the show at 909-345-3346. I can't promise you we're going to always get your voicemail on, but we definitely get the best ones on there, and that's how you become a made man or made woman. You get 3 calls played on the show, so 909-345-3346. I will say this, though. We're going to definitely feature more of them now that we have games that are going to be played. You know, one of the nice surprises of doing Raiders Fan Radio was the featuring of these voicemails. It became one of our favorite things to do last year because the phone calls are so great. You guys' takes are great. You're funny. So definitely keep those coming. In the off season, we focus more and more on the interviews and things and kind of the deep dives into certain subjects. But during the season, we want to feature those calls and those emails and all that. So,
well, we're a fan show, and you guys are the fans.
Exactly.
So,
all we are is the conduit.
We're not leaders here. We're just the two sheep. the 2 sheep with the microphones in the flock.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And sometimes when you guys tell us to get the flock out of here, we understand. Hey.
We are Metallica, and we are here for your Oakland Raiders!
You know why we're out here, and we ain't playing around today.
From The Walking Dead to errant Jedi Knights, Raiders fans are a rogues gallery.
All right, Uncle Mosh, we got two more things to get to. I have an interview today that you didn't get a chance to hear the interview, and those on the YouTube channel, you'll just hear a pause, and then we'll come back and talk about the interview. But I know we're running really long tonight, so we're not gonna be around for a little bit. I'm going to the week 1 game. We're gonna take that off. We are gonna do Mondays with Mikey and Murf this week, but Raiders Fan Radio, we're shifting our schedule from Sundays to Wednesdays, but not this Wednesday. It will be the Wednesday following. So the next time you hear a Raiders Fan Radio episode will be after the week 1 game, right, Mosh?
Wednesday the 12th.
Wednesday the 12th will be the next time. So the release schedule for the Murph's Fan Cave shows will be this show, Raiders Fan Radio, late Wednesday night. Then you will get the Fan Club Blitz. You'll get that on Fridays. And then you'll get, of course, Mondays with Mikey and Murf late on Mondays. I say late. We'll release the audio version of that show late that night when I get it all put together. But the goal of that show is to start and finish right before kickoff of Monday Night Football. Think of it as Monday Mikey Football, Monday Mike Football, if you will. So that show will release on Monday. So you're going to have a little bit of an overlap. It's kind of like when you buy a house, Uncle Mosh, you don't have to pay a mortgage for that first month. It's kind of like that. So you're going to get a little bit of a gap, and it's not because we're going away. We're just going to be taking that Sunday and extending it to Wednesday. So we're going to kind of skip a week. So that's what's going to go on with the show. So we're going to run a little bit long tonight, so bear with us there. I came across the idea of a new segment, and I've just got to share it with you guys tonight. It's too freaking fun. It's so fun. And I half stole it from another podcast that half stole it from another show. So the idea is this, is that a lot of you guys know I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I love the podcast Rebel Force Radio. They they borrowed a segment from another show called Slow and Tell, where basically you take an existing vocal track and then you slow it down, you pitch it down, and when you do that, the people that are talking sounds like they've been drinking. So we're going to start a new segment here on Raiders Fan Radio. And what are we going to call it, Mosh? Tailgating too much? At the tailgate with Mosh and Murf? What do you think?
You know what? I think we need to, after they hear it, we'll let the fans name this one.
You guys let us know. We were thinking that, when you tailgate too much, you drink a little too much, you get a little sloshed. Maybe you were tailgating too much at the tailgate, and by the time you made it to the game and it's the second quarter, then it's over for you, right? So anyway, we're gonna give you a couple of examples of what this sounds like, and I hope you guys get a kick out of it. It freaking cracked me up, and I hope you guys think it's funny too. Emiliano says I drank too much today already. Well, then you know what? Maybe you'll be one of the first ones that we do this to, because it's pretty funny. So Uncle Mosh, once upon a time, did a voiceover for us in the theme of Ric Flair. If you know what Ric Flair, the wrestler, sounds like, he did a voiceover in that vein. And so we took that soundbite and we put it into the software and pitched it down. And this is what it sounds like. So this is what Uncle Mosh would sound like if he was tailgating too much.
You ain't in Kansas no more, baby. It's time from the Dago Dungeon. That's right, Murf and Sonny bringing it 110%. Whoa! I have sounded like that before.
Yeah. Aside from promos, 1983. Yeah. Okay. All right. So there's Uncle Mosh in the tailgating too much software, and so I got one more for you. We're going to be self-deprecating at first. I'm going to warn you guys, we're probably going to take some of your voicemails this year, and we're going to put them in through
Only a made man.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
We'll take some of the made men, and we'll put you through the software. But we wanted to be self-deprecating before we did it to you. And I've already been playing a bunch with it and did some Raider clips. We've got Al Davis, we got Derek Carr, whatnot. But anyway, so here's what it sounds like when you put me and Mikey, Uncle Mosh, into the tailgating too much software. I'm fired up, Mikey. You know what? I just was thankful to have watched the Raiders 2017 yearbook that you graciously sent to me, and in watching.
Illegally? It was illegal. I had to send it to you illegally.
But it was a legal viewing since I didn't share it with anybody.
We just watched it together online, but, if we were in the same room, it would have been legal.
That's exactly right. So by watching that video, though, don't tell anybody, but by watching that video, man, it got me fired up. There wasn't, I wouldn't say there wasn't a lot to get fired up for last year. There was a lot to get fired up for last year. It was just kind of in the beginning and then somewhere in the middle and then a little bit towards the end, and then that was it. Oh my gosh.
The only thing missing when you go, shh, you should have said, I love you, man.
Oh my gosh. That is so funny. We are 100% completely sober, coherent. That is straight up taken from a show. Like that is not, this is, it's so dang funny. So anyways, prepare yourselves, made men. We're going to plug you into some of those, and, hold on. We got a running update here. Breaking news. Okay. This is from Sonny and, saw the press conference. Joel Siegel stood his ground. That's all you need to know.
That's a Gruden quote.
A Gruden quote. And Sonny says, blame that man, Raider Nation. That sounds about right to me. Joel Siegel stood his ground. As we kind of speculated, the agent kind of drove this. It wasn't Khalil Mack. But anyways, so I think that'll be it for the tailgating too much this week, but so look for that as we progress through.
Make me cry. I love that.
It's pretty funny stuff. Pretty funny.
Okay, I just want to hear I want to hear Wyoming Raiders say Del Rio.
I could do it on the fly here. We could just about do it, but too funny. Yeah, we'll definitely get some of those in the next week or so. All right, guys. Well, listen, we got one more thing to get to. Uncle Mosh hasn't heard this interview, so normally just the YouTube crowd, you don't hear it, and then we take a break, and then we come back and discuss the interview. But Uncle Mosh, so I'm just gonna kind of discuss it amongst myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. All right, next up, Raider Nation, we got an interview with Jim Rutter. He was recently named the CEO of Your Sports in 2015. If you've never heard of or not familiar with Your Sports, it is now a social media, like a sharing website. Basically, I don't want to call it Facebook because it's not like Facebook. It's kind of a new version of social media that's only sports themed. It's sports centric. It's only sports. There's nothing else out there. And he was kind enough to set up our network and set up our shows, and getting to know him a little bit, talking to him via email, found out he was a Raider fan, invited him on the show, and so he joined us here on Raiders Fan Radio. So those of you on the podcast, that's coming right up. Those of you in YouTube, you're going to hear a brief pause and then hear me talk about it to myself. All right, Raider Nation, now joining me in the fan cave is a man who, for more than 20 years, worked on the financial side of emerging technology companies and is now putting his passion for sports to work. Since being named the CEO of 2015 of YourSports.com, he has been building Your Sports into a game-changing, sports-centric social networking platform. Also, in the last 10 years, he has volunteered as a Stanford athletics archivist and founded the Stanford fan site, thebootleg.com. His childhood hero is Jim Plunkett, and frankly, that's enough for us here. So welcome to the show, Jim Rutter, to Raiders Fan Radio. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, thanks, Murf. Appreciate it. And a big shout out to Raider Nation and to the Black Hole organization. Very happy to be with you.
Good deal. Yeah, we got linked up to your website, to your service anyways, or network. We got linked up through the Black Hole, through Chuck McCann, our representative of the Jersey chapter of the Black Hole. And so definitely appreciate those folks and your new partnership with them. So Jim, before we get to the to the platform, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your fandom and how this relates to Raider Nation.
Sure. I grew up on the San Francisco Peninsula, fifth generation Bay Bay Area guy, and always been a rabid sports fan. Goes back to my earliest days of being at Stanford football games as a little kid, and was exposed at 6 and 7 years old to watching Jim Plunkett beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl in 1971, playing opposite Jack Tatum on the other side. That, when you have impressions that are made on you when you're a young kid, they never really leave you. And the extension into following the Raiders largely came from having grown up in the Bay Area, loving the Raiders at the time when I was a kid were ruling the roost. They got the Super Bowl after the 76 season, and everybody was silver and black. The Niners hadn't really started their big run yet. I was very interested in guys that came from Stanford and went on to the NFL. That got me interested in the NFL. Started watching the Cowboys a little bit. Sorry to admit that, because they used to bring on all the Stanford guys, right? It was everyone from Pat Donovan and Scott Laidlaw to Tony Hill. Tony Hill lived at our house, and so I'm about playing street ball with Tony Hill. You can imagine the impression on a 10-year-old kid. So following that and having your hero, when Jim went to the Patriots, the Boston Patriots at first before they became New England, I think maybe the next year, and he brought with him his old sidekick, who became an all-rookie wide receiver, Randy Vataha. And Randy the Rabbit Vataha was another one of my heroes. So they were on the Patriots. That was fine. But when he went to the Raiders, then it was kicking it up a notch. Then he had this miraculous, obviously the 81 Super Bowl, 80 season, and the Kenny King, Rod Martin, 3 interceptions, Kenny King's 80-yard touchdown, Plunkett getting the MVP. I was pretty hard hooked for life, and still every time I hear Celebration played, I think about the credit closing of the Super Bowl after the Raiders had won, and the Lester Hayes interview, and all of that stuff. And all I can think about is celebrate good times, and the good times have continued on pretty much for the next 30 plus years.
Pretty good story. So there's a lot of Stanford connections in there, and obviously your connections with the university are numerous. One of the things we ask our folks that are a guest on our show, we always ask for your Mount Rushmore of Raiders, and we spot you Al Davis because he's the Raiders. Give me your Mount Rushmore of Raiders, but then I also want to ask you, give me your Mount Rushmore of Stanford football.
Sure. Well, let me start with the Raiders. I'm doing this off the cuff because I hadn't given it, a lot of prefasory thought. But we're talking, look, Plunkett for sure, no question about it. I was also, I was an early fan influenced by the whole Hendricks and Sistrunk and Matuzak crowd was interesting to me, but I was really, really intimidated by Ben Davidson, right? This was a guy who rode motorcycles and had the big handlebar mustache. I mean, there's a guy I loved. I loved James Lofton. Lofton, maybe some of his best years, might argue were with Green Bay and Buffalo, but Lofton was an absolutely uncoverable track star, right? He was a 1978 NCAA long jump champion. He was an incredible athlete who his first couple of years of college couldn't even catch the ball. And then Bill Walsh got a hold of him, taught him how to catch, and it was off to the races. And the guy was, I think at one point, the all-time leading receiver in NFL history in terms of receiving yardage. It seemed like every week this guy was either returning a reverse or going off on a D pattern for 85-yard touchdowns almost every week. So by the time he got to the Raiders, maybe not quite that dominant, but boy, James Lofton was a player. Bolitnikov obviously was a very unique guy, unique cat at the time. I was a huge, I used to play in the street and think I was Cliff Branch without the wheels. But I loved Mark Van Eegen. I loved the tough guys, Villapiano, all those. But I loved Plunkett probably more than any. Bob Moore was a big influence. He was a tight end for Plunkett back on the Stanford teams in the Rose Bowl, and he went on to play for the Raiders. Bob is probably get a nod from me on my Rushmore. But there were so many great Raider players. I mean, Bo Jackson, Marcus Allen. I mean, the guys that left a lasting impression on me. It's probably offensive players in my mind when I think of the Raiders because I was trying to play offense at the time. I switched over in high school, playing mostly defense, and then I started being more into the Atkinsons and the Tatums and those kind of guys. So those would be some of my top Raiders. When it comes to Stanford, I actually go a lot older school than that. I love guys like Ernie Nevers and Frankie Albert, who was the head of the lefty quarterback of the Stanford team that went undefeated and untied in 1940, went on to the 41 Rose Bowl, and then he became the first 49ers quarterback and eventually was a coach of the 49ers. But Frankie Albert's up there. Loved Christian McCaffrey. I mean, if I could have put Christian McCaffrey in a Raiders uniform, I would have loved that. I mean, what a magical kid. Obviously, Andrew Luck was terrific. Toby Gerhardt. Bryce Love, the current kid. I mean, let's put him in silver and black. That would be amazing. Go a little lightning along with maybe Chris Warren III for some thunder. But yeah, McCaffrey, absolutely magic to watch. Probably the greatest athlete I've ever seen in any sport. Might have been John Elway when he was, you talk about a guy who made the hair on your arm stand up. It was watching John Elway on third down. Elway was absolutely unbelievable. There were even rumors, I remember at the time, that Al Davis was going to try and get a hold of John Elway. If that had happened, I probably would have moved to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum.
Well, I was hoping when you got to your Mount Rushmore, I was wondering if Elway was going to make it, because that would probably be the only time John Elway has ever been talked about favorably on this show. And with
the Broncos connection, that was tough, right?
Yeah.
Really, if you talk about the Rushmore, Darren Nelson, who was also a 10-year pro, mostly with the Vikings, and I wasn't much of a Vikings fan, other than the fact that Steve Dills, quarterback, NCAA passing champion in 1978, Steve Dills actually held a clipboard for 10 years for the Vikings. So I kind of watched them. And they had Jeff Seaman, who was an All-American from that same Stanford-Ohio State beating team in 71. The fact that the Vikings had a lot of Stanford guys got me all fired up. And then Darren Nelson, probably the most pound-for-pound, the most exciting athlete in the history of Stanford sports. He's all of 5'9", maybe 160 pounds, and yet the guy ran like a 4.2 and was unbelievable. First athlete ever to catch 1,000 yards and run for 1,000 yards and catch 50 passes in a single season in college history. And he did it 3 out of his 4 years and would have done 4 if he hadn't hurt himself. So spectacular stuff. And, basically it's all these guys I would have liked to seen in silver and black, but you can't, make your entire team out of one school draft.
That's right. And Al was too busy drafting out of USC anyways, right?
As long as his guys would have 3 interceptions in the Super Bowl and help us to a title, I'm good with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit about the difference between college and pro. So we just talked about the Raiders and Stanford football there. I grew up in San Jose, and my dad was not a big college football guy. I mean, of course, he would have the Stanford Cal game on every year, and Notre Dame was on Saturdays because they were on NBC. But outside of that, we weren't big college fans. We were pro sports fans. It was the East Bay sports with the Raiders and the Warriors and the A's. But even, if a Giants game was on, it was on. And we had people on the outskirts of our family, but we'll claim them still. They were Niner fans and whatnot, but it was around our family. It was definitely a pro sports centric type thing. But then now I live in the South though, and I live in Middle Tennessee, and I am in SEC country, and college football is at a crazy another level out here. Like it's not even the opposite of what it's like in the Bay Area. It's a whole nother thing. College sports here is religion practically. So talk a little bit about that, about your outlook on that, pro versus college sports, and talk a little about that.
Yeah, there are some distinctions between the college and the pro game in many aspects, right? But when it comes to fandom, I think it's easier for members of a community that are, for example, not alumni of a particular school. While you do, you get a lot of community support for Cal or for Stanford or whatever. It's a lot easier for the resident of the Bay Area to back a Bay Area team. Like in basketball, it's, you're a Warriors fan. Why? Because you live in the San Francisco, Oakland area, right? It's an automatic. It's a team that you are living vicariously through. You have an affiliation because of where you live or where you grew up, or it's easier for people to get on board because that team is representing you. In the pros, it's not just a question of the style of the game. It's about how you feel about your emotional connection to the team. Are you part of the tribe? And it's easier to be part of the tribe of a pro team where you don't necessarily have to have gone there or gotten a degree at the school or whatever as you might in college. You're not as clubby in the hallowed halls where you go around. And to be honest with you, it's one of the things that I enjoy about pro sports is I like going around the parking lots and going to tailgaters where they're dropping some serious music, they're drinking tequila and beer and barbecuing up a storm, as opposed to sipping Chardonnay and cheese at some of these high-end alumni functions where people don't even stand and scream. I mean, I sometimes embarrass myself at Stanford games where I'm up on my feet, I'm yelling, I'm talking, and it's not really the scene there compared to the black hole where people are literally coming in alter egos. They're assuming secret identities. They're dressing to kill in a good way, right? And they're spending 3 hours getting ready for a game. You do not really get that in certainly in Bay Area college. Now, as you say, Tennessee, and I've been out to Neyland Stadium, and I've been in front of 93,000 people. I went to an Ole Miss Tennessee game there, and it was, believe me, it was a memorable experience. But it's the way people feel about it. It is also the way the program markets themselves to the community. Do they cross campus lines? Do they want to include people? Do they have kids clubs? Do they honor and respect tradition? Oregon does an amazing job up at Autzen Stadium. They guys ride in on Harleys. The Duck is out there on a Harley himself, and the crowd goes crazy. It's only about 50 or 60,000, yet the decibel level's enough that you have to take Advil just to handle your headaches from being at that stadium, right? So that's much more of a, not every pro stadium is absolutely crazy because they've priced out some of your average fans out of a lot of these games. I mean, the Niner stadium is really, pretty spectacular in a lot of ways, but boy, the cost of taking a family of 4 down there can be a little daunting. Parking alone is enough to take away from beer money. So, and I just think that it depends on what your personal experience is. How did you grow up with your family? Did your father watch games with you? Did he introduce you? Were you watching the Heidi game when it happened? Were you watching Ghost to the Post? Were you watching the Immaculate Reception or Deception, whichever way you want to look at it?
Yeah.
All these things are influences on how you grow up, how you stay involved in following a team, which players, did you stay in the Bay Area? Did you absolutely love Stabler? Did you love Daryl LaMonica? Were you a huge fan of George Blanda? I mean, this is passed on to generations. It's shared among friends and family. If you had great times being at a game, you may not be the kind of person that charts every third down conversion, but you care. You care about the team because you're supporting them, hopefully through thick and thin, or wherever they move or don't move. I mean, you don't change your colors. I'm never going to stop being a Stanford fan because I was 3 years old when I got Jim Plunkett's first autograph, something like that. Those don't change. So you have your certain loyalties, you have your interests, and when my father and I think I've hugged my father about 10 times in my life, and at least 7 of those were after a touchdown. And so you've got these great experiences that are going to have a lasting impact on you. And so, whether you're watching on TV or you're going to the games, or if you don't live in the Bay Area, it's probably hard to get to Raider games unless, you're a ultra hardcore and you're going to travel to every road game. You want to dedicate 90% of your personal bottom line budget to football travel, which everyone should. The reality is you watch it on TV, you hopefully congregate with your friends, maybe you go to a sports bar or a gathering place where you can be with other people who have a similar enjoyment of not only watching games, but being part of Raider Nation. There's a big difference. You can be a fan, and then there's a fan. You talk to a real Raiders fan, and they're going to be, they've got everything from Raiders silverware to black and silver on their cars to license plates customed out. It's a different life. People have different ways of cranking it up. And does that make you a better person? Does that make you a more interesting person? I personally think it does, but people choose what to associate themselves with. Do they want to collect dolls or do they want to be a Raider fan?
Absolutely. I had to explain that to my wife before we named our kids Kenny, Howie, and Lester. So you mentioned that, the difference between, being a fan and Raider Nation, and you also mentioned the move in there. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts about the Vegas relocation. And I also want to ask you curiously too about you're born and raised a Bay Area guy, all over the Bay Area sports scene. What does it mean to the and we talk a lot in reference to what's it mean to Oakland fan and what does it mean to the the Coliseum itself and in reference things that are in reference directly, but what does it mean to the Bay, to the actual sports landscape in the Bay Area with the Raiders departing? I was there and saw it firsthand the first time it happened, but I was a little kid. Tell us what you think and of course in the Bay Area has changed dramatically since then as well with the tech boom. So tell me what you think there. What's the expectations for the Raiders and what's left over for the Bay?
Well, I mean, those are a lot of questions and all good ones, right? And, I don't know. I think in this day and age when it's possible to follow teams on, satellite television and watching online and having blog networks and podcasts and all, it's a lot easier to follow a team whether they happen to be in the stadium next door or not, right? It's like I can follow a team in Munich or in Tokyo pretty well these days. I get stats, game reports, I can watch film. I can do a lot more thanks to the internet and to modern technology than I could in the past. So, having to be there actually at every game, I think it's not as imperative as it once was. I mean, let's say the Raiders it looks like they're probably going to Las Vegas. I always hold out hope, but if they're going to Vegas, it is what it is. Well, okay, so we go to Vegas a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. Am I sad for the city of Oakland? I am. There's great, proud tradition, long established there with a great history, great history and heritage. The A's are still there. The Warriors, while they're moving over to San Francisco, are still part of the North Bay area, sports landscape. You got Cal's football program there as well. With the Sharks in San Jose, with the Niners down in Santa Clara, I think it's a little more possible to be a Bay Area fan and enjoy this variety of pro sports. I mean, there's always going to be an East Bay against West Bay kind of competition. Stanford, Cal, Niners, Raiders. I mean, I don't think you're going to suddenly, just because the Niners are over in Santa Clara, it doesn't mean the East Bay and down to Fremont, Santa Clara are all going to start wearing red and gold. It is traumatic to have any team leave. People have invested their time, effort, energy, money. They've bought jerseys. They've shown their loyalty. And, the reality is they don't own the teams. And the teams have, certain legal rights. Al Davis showed he could move the team. Mark Davis showing the same. And, I hate to say it, I think it is what it is. And as fans, you have to, better appreciate that, you can root for the colors. You can root for the jersey. You can root for the individuals and the players and the coaches and the people that are actually making it happen. I mean, I have rarely in any kind of pro sports really rooted hard for the management team or the ownership group. That's not, I don't wear a jersey, with the team owner's name on the back. I'm much more about supporting the guys who played hard, represented well, acknowledged the fans, and gave us some thrills, gave us some memories. I mean, just because a team moves doesn't mean you forget about those seminal experiences you had when it was a key Dave Casper touchdown, or it was a Bolitnikov catch in the fourth quarter. It was Stabler on a scramble. I mean, those are things that are never going away. I don't care if they move the team to Des Moines or to St. Petersburg or to Paris. I don't care. I'm still going to be able to follow my teams and follow, the past, present, and the future. You can't take them all apart. It all is part of a team. And so I never get mad at one particular ownership group because they too shall pass.
That's a great point.
Just as coaches, administration, presidents, university administrators, they're all in and out, but the fan remains.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. And I think that's the overall sentiment. It seems to be from Raider Nation. And again, there's the stay in Oakland folks, and God bless them. And look, they're right there. They're going to the games every week. They're bringing their families. It impacts them on a different level than it does somebody like me nowadays that like you said, I live out of market now, but I don't miss anything Raiders. I see it all. I consume it all. And it doesn't matter if they're playing on another planet or if they're playing in Vegas. It doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to have the same exposure and consumption of the Raiders product. So that, you're right, that doesn't vary. So let me ask you, so before they go, though, we do have one more for sure season, possibly another one before they get to Vegas. What do you think about Gruden coming back? Are we going to see another Lombardi trophy sitting up there in the halls of Alameda? Are we going to get number 4 before they get out of town?
Well, it's certainly possible. I mean, ball bounces funny ways in football, and really you just have to have a pretty solid season to make the playoffs. I mean, I'm a big Gruden fan. The idea that this guy is out of touch or something because he's been out of it for a while, I'm not buying it. I went back and watched some of the mic-ups from Gruden and how he interacted with players and coaches and fans and the sideline stuff. Gruden is a piece of work. He is intense. He's focused. He's competitive. I'm a big fan. Personnel will largely determine things. Look where we were before Carr got hurt. When Carr went down, we're in the playoffs. We had potential to make it happen right then. So with health and, knock on wood, it's if your team can stay together health-wise, if you can get your players under contract on the field, a few of these young guys emerge and the secondary comes together, and we'll see what happens once we have all the running backs together. But you just have to go at least let's say get 10 or 11 wins, and then get hot during the playoffs. You got to win a few games to get to the Super Bowl, and you play. Football's an emotional game. X's and O's are great and all in schemes and Tampa 2s, Tampa 3s, Tampa 4s. But the reality is, guys make plays. Stars make plays. The Raiders have a bunch of stars that can make plays. And so they have as good a chance as any. They have superior support from their loyal fan base. And they actually have a right. It is a right of the Raiders to pick up that next trophy. So the Lombardi Trophy does belong to the Raiders. It's just their responsibility to go out and take it.
Oh my! He's giving me chills right there. I love that. They have a right to it. That's beautiful. All right, so Jim, tell us a little bit about your sport, about the platform. Talk a little about it, and I've been using it now for about a week. It looks to me like a social media network that's exclusively sports content. Fantastic. So tell us a little about your sports.
Yeah, so your sports is really what we're trying to do is wire up the world through sports identity, and that means every player, every coach, every fan, every team, league, governing body, federation, in every sport, at every level, in every historical season ever played in every country in the world. Now, that sounds rather ambitious, and indeed it is. But, the point is, it's not really a Facebook for sports. It's a social application on top of a massive connected database. That database can connect an athlete or a coach or a fan, anybody, based on their affiliations, their interests, their experiences, their affinities, things they like, their achievements and accomplishments. So, let's say everybody, whether they're a super athlete or not, right, has probably played some kind of sport in high school, has been part of groups and organizations. Maybe they were in the military, maybe they were in a fraternity, they attended certain schools or maybe colleges or law schools, God knows what. Everybody has affiliations. It's things you belong to. So your sports takes all of this kind of stuff and puts it together, builds it around sports identity, and then extends the social graph way beyond that into other things, the things you'd be interested in. It could be, you wanted to visit every ballpark in Major League Baseball, or maybe you're into Italian cooking, or your favorite flavor of ice cream is licorice. Whatever it is, it's about being able to express your unique identity, and then through all these connections, find out what you have in common with other people. Are you fellow members of the Black Hole? Are you both? Were you both present? At the time watching the Heidi game. That was our example for Raiders, right? If you were at the Super Bowl in 1981, you really are able to find people that share things in common with you, and what kind of experiences you have. And there are a wide variety of uses for this type of connection. I would recommend to people that are looking to plug in and have that be a benefit to them personally, professionally. I mean, there are all kinds of applications. If you're going to be able to say, okay, I'd like to understand who was a Raiders fan, once owned a Chevy Camaro, and likes gladiator movies. I mean, whatever it is,
oh my gosh! Did you read my bio?
I read your bio, right? It's truly going to be extraordinary, and we've actually pre-populated this platform with hundreds of thousands of potential connections for you. Every high school in the U.S., all of the sports teams for all the high schools, all the colleges, Division 1, 2, 3, all the North American pro sports, everyone who's ever played in the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, soccer. We're not quite there. I'm not going to say with absolutely everyone yet, but the goal is to have everyone, connect them up based on the teams they played for, the awards, honors, and recognition they've had. It really is going to be quite an extraordinary thing. We think we can make this a household name, and it starts by developing communities, where people with common interests can come and talk about their favorite teams, interact interact with each other, consume, produce content. And then really what we are is, by wiring all this up, we create a content distribution network so that if you have something to say, whether it's a post or a photo or a video or a podcast or whatever, you want to get that out to people that might actually give a damn. So by knowing that these are people who have self-identified as being interested in the Raiders, or people that don't like the Broncos, or people that don't like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Chargers. Have I named them all? I'm getting close, right? So by identifying which tribe you're part of, right? Who are people that you that you want to share information about yourself? I mean, privacy. The only thing people don't want on the internet is to get ripped off, some kind of scam, or maybe they were worried about somebody stalking them or their kids or something. But really, when it comes to the things we're talking about, did you play for a certain Little League team? Did you play Pop Warner football or NGB basketball? Or did your Uncle Bob play linebacker at Georgia Tech in the 1970s? That stuff is actually fairly readily available. It's just not really organized anywhere in an efficient place. So we're kind of a sports-centric version. It's a combination of the IMDb movie database, Wikipedia, LinkedIn, more than it is really a Facebook. But if we can capture an audience of 2 billion people and become worth $1 trillion, that'd be great. But really, what this is about is taking history and the global sports community and putting it all into one amazing database. And I think it's going to be a blow away. I'd ask people to check it out if they like. There's no pressure, but it's free to join. And you got to understand that we're headed for what we like to think as greatness.
Awesome.
And along with the greatness of your sports, it's going to be the greatness of your sports and the Raiders.
Beautiful. Well, I got to say, this is not a paid endorsement. We just, I got on there and played around with it a little bit, and I enjoyed it, man. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. I think it's a great platform, and I liked it. Not only was I able to find the obvious things like the Raiders and voting as a foe of the Broncos, but I was able to find like past guests of ours. I was able to find Pete Koch. I was able to find I met Marcel Reese one time, and he's not an obscure player by any means, but I typed in Marcel Reese and boop, there it is. He popped right up. Like it was really easy to find the players and the organizations to link that stuff up. And then I want to ask you something else too. I'm also a big fan of the movie Jerry Maguire. I think that's a way underrated football movie. Tell us about Quan and how Quan plays into your sports. I got a big kick out of that.
Well, Murf, you had me at hello, I got to tell you. But so Quan, we chose Quan as sort of our online, I'm not going to call it a currency yet on your sports, but it's part of our reward system. It's kind of a gamification element. So when you come onto your sports, you can earn Quan. You can gift Quan to somebody else. Let's say, Chris Warren goes in for a touchdown. You could actually gift Quan to a Chris Warren or to another Raider fan for a great comment or whatever it may be. So you can actually have an exchange of what ultimately will be value. Right now, it's just value on your sports, right? Quan, we chose that because Quan is more than just success on the field. You may remember in the Rod Tidwell character in talking with Jerry Maguire, he was trying to describe what's success on the field, but also in life. Success with your family, success in business, success, having it all, having the Quan. And through your sports, you, Murf, along with everyone else in Raider Nation, can become an ambassador of Quan.
That's beautiful. And that's how you become great, man. You put your out there. Before we let you go, that was another quote from the movie. For those that didn't get it, I might have to cut that out. All day. Your sports, go check it out, Raider Nation. We will definitely have links to everything after the interview. We will get that stuff out there. Check it out. Look, all the Murph's Fan Cave stuff is there. Jim was kind enough to set up our little podcast network, so you can find Murph's Fan Cave as the network. You can find Raiders Fan Radio. You can find Mondays with Mikey and Murf, and then also the Fan Club Blitz is on there. So definitely when you join your sports, hit us up, give us the thumbs up, all that good stuff. Definitely link in to us there. So thank you again, Jim, for doing that. But before we let you get out of here, we always ask our guests for a message to Raider Nation. So, Jim, what is your message to Raider Nation?
Well, I guess the message would be that we want the Raider Nation. We embrace it. We like it with all its glory and warts. In fact, the unique personalities are so important to us. We've actually already pre-populated a good segment of the, let's call it the recognized hardcore Raider fans that attend games and all that come in costume and all that. Many of those characters are already on your sports. You can already like them essentially by becoming a fan. You can follow them so that anytime they get tagged in any kind of a story, that kind of content will make its way toward you. I really encourage people to realize we're trying to build this way beyond just the team, the athletes, the coaches, the owners, but it goes into everything that represents the spirit of the club, right? So that's all the former players. If there was a marching band or a mascot, Raiders don't really have a mascot in their case, but including the fans, the people associated with the very spirit of the team. That's really important. And so what I would recommend, if anyone wants, well, this will be a limited time offer while we're scaling up here. If anyone wants to honor, it could even be someone who's no longer with us, but you want to honor their memory. If you want us to establish a public profile and trick it out 9 ways from Sunday, this is an offer. It's almost like one of those betting radio guys, right? Call now. And in limited time, we're going to offer this. Hey, we will build a public profile for that grandfather of yours who was a rabid Raider fan, that uncle who passed away too early, he was a veteran. We will build his profile. He'll have a lasting legacy where his friends and family can remember not only the date that he entered the world and left the world, but the things about him, the teams he loved, the things he did, the organizations he belonged to. All those things make up the rich life that someone leads. This journey through life you had is made up of these elements of your DNA. It's your experiences and your interests. Those will be the things you tell your children about, or you'd like to pass on about that grandfather or that father. And until the internet came, there really wasn't a way to capture, maintain, and then also pass on as a legacy. You know, we're no longer in the era where we have to be happy with Ancestry.com and here's the date, the date born, date married, date died, and that's it. No, we want to talk about who that person was and basically give them a slice of immortality.
Wow, that is amazing. There is light bulbs are going off like crazy. Kind of the whole crux of our show is just about that family connection and about how our fandom gets formed. And, you know, I have 2 uncles that were completely responsible for forming my fandom, and especially as it relates to the Raiders. And I've heard back from so many of our listeners via messages and phone calls to our hotlines. What we've heard endless stories of connections of people with their dads, moms, and just all ranges of family as it pertains to the Raiders. That is an amazing offer. I thank you for that, Jim. That's fantastic stuff.
Well, it is. It's, you know, these relationships are special. You're not going to find them in other avenues of life. I mean, people get embroiled in politics and religion, et cetera, but, you know, sports is the one that cuts through and captivates. It really does. It's the one that brings you a lot of joy, brings you a lot of memories, and is something you can easily share and relate to with your kids, friends, family, and there's nothing quite like it. And if you add in your teammates from every walk of life, it's really something. I just want to add that, you know, we're not arrogant about this. We're open to suggestion, ways we can make this platform better. We want to make it so that it becomes the ultimate place for Raider Nation, for the Black Hole, for anyone who wants to find ways to connect with their fellow fans and add a little enjoyment for their lives, right? I mean, the reality is everybody's trying to make it by. We've got jobs, we got rents, we got mortgages, we got insurance, we got sending kids to college. You know, the fact that you can follow your team, look forward to your fantasy draft, go listen to a game or watch a game on Sunday, go get together for a few Coronas and burgers with your friends. I mean, that's a pretty good gig to add to that week that we get 52 weeks a year and hopefully for 120 years of our lives.
That's great stuff, Jim. I can't tell you enough how much I've enjoyed talking to you today, getting to hear about not only your past and your connections back with sports, but also with the platform, with yoursports.com. So we're fans of it, and we will definitely get the information out there to our listeners, and appreciate you joining us here on the show today, Jim. Appreciate your time.
Just win, baby.
All right, Raider Nation, there's our interview with Jim Rutter from yoursports.com. Uncle Mosh, didn't you love that interview?
I can't wait to hear it.
No, but conceptually, I could just, first off, he's a great Raider fan, knows the team incredibly well. He's well versed not only on the Raiders but on Stanford history. He's a big Stanford football fan, Uncle Mosh. But here I will tell you this though. Let's talk about your sports and just the concept of it. Isn't it a great idea to have a sports-centric social media site where you can go to and so when you log in, you'll just see the things that you choose to see that are only sports related?
That's what I was saying about yesterday. As much of a shock and how bad the news was, to me, that's what social media is all about. Everybody was voicing their opinion about this, what's happening in football, and it was all like from the Twitters to the twits to the Facebook posts and all that stuff. It was all football. It wasn't all this political ranting and raving and going off. That's awesome. What he's doing is great.
It's cool stuff. And you know what I find is that just my own personal experience is that, we have a bunch of Twitters. Like we have the Raiders Fan Radio Twitter, and I have my own Twitter, and then we have like the Murf's Fan Cave Twitter, and so there's a bunch of Twitters, and so the Raiders Fan Radio stuff, usually I use that to just kind of promote the show and whatnot, and just it's some interaction. But for the most part, if somebody reaches out to us, I answer back, whatever. But for the most part, I use my own Twitter. Like I use it as a news feed. I read a lot of news, and especially if there's something going on in Raider Nation. I mean, I follow all the local, beat writers. I follow the team themselves. I follow the players. But I also follow like other news outlets. You know what I mean? And I also follow, some celebrities and other just fun people to follow, like Jimmy Fallon and Tom Hanks and Ice Cube and people like that. But I follow a lot to get Raider news, but it's mixed in with real world news. So don't like so often I'm scrolling through my timeline and it's like fun story, wham, real world. And it's like, oh crap. And then, you know what I mean? And it's like, it gets mixed in. So it's like the political stuff or the national news or the global news or whatever, a tragedy might happen or something happens and it's mixed in with all this other stuff that's kind of fun or lighthearted, and it's just kind of jarring.
Yeah,
so,
and there's a time and place for that.
And there's a time and place. So, and it's like, and I want to stay abreast of all that news, but I want to keep them separated too. I want to prepare myself mentally. Okay, if I'm going to go read presidential stories, I want to be prepared to read presidential stories.
Sure.
If I'm going to read Raider stories, I want to, you know what I mean? And so having a site, I said all that to say this, a site like Your Sports is great because I know what I'm going to get when we go there. Like I know I'm going to get Pete Koch updates or you know what I mean or whatever because I've followed Pete Koch news stories or whatever other, does it make sense? Mm-hmm. Or like, and they have all of your favorite players are on there. I mean, I found Woodson, I found Howie, I found, all the way down to guys like Pete Koch, and I was able to find all them. I was able to find the team, I was able to find our shows, other sports. And then the other cool thing too is that not only can you this sounds like a paid advertisement. I promise you it's not. It's just, I think it's cool. Not only can you find all of those things, but then the things you don't like I've logged myself in as a foe of the Broncos, as a foe of Phillip Rivers. You know what I mean? So It's like it networks not only the things that you like, but the things that you don't like as well. It's pretty darn cool.
You got anything else?
No, I think I finished.
Let's go to taglines.
All right, give us the taglines, Uncle Mosh, and then we'll get out of here.
High times, low times. Raider Nation for life.
Ooh, that's a good one. Who's that from?
Was that Mojo?
Was that Mojo Raider?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think so.
Give him props on that because I want to we're gonna pick some of these and we're gonna send you guys some Raiders Fan Radio gift baskets. By the way, we're gonna send you some shirts and swag and all that good stuff.
Okay, and then these are he said that one, but these were the actual two that our first two.
The two submissions.
Okay,
give us the submissions. All right, give us submissions.
May the autumn winds fill your sails.
That's good.
I love that.
I like that.
Super Bowl wins or off-season debacles. Our love for the Raiders comes straight from our cockles.
That wins. That wins, man. That wins round one anyway. You know what? We might have to come up with a bracket. We have to do like a bracket. And that'd be fun. We'll have to do like a bracket, but that's definitely my favorite from this week. So good job, Ron. So hey, first and foremost, thank you to you all for listening. Thank you for paying attention to our little podcast. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for rating. Thank you for liking us on Facebook. Our show I'm sure it has something to do with the season starting. We know you guys have hung with us all through the off season and been part of what we do. We love the interaction, and thank you guys so much for what you do. I mean, whether it's watching our YouTube videos or whatever, we get more and more listeners to not only this show, but Mondays with Mikey and Murf and Fan Club Blitz and all that. It just continues to ramp up over, this long period of time. And I just, at times I just want to make sure that we remind you all how much we appreciate you. We see it going on in the chat. I can't even name, Uncle Mosh, our chat's so busy tonight. I can't even name everybody, but Alberto's in there. Raider Critique is in there. Aaron's in there, of course. Q-Dog, Mr. Raider, Ron's in there. And I can't scroll up to see more. There's been all night. This thing has been going crazy. So thank you to you all for doing that.
Murph, it's humbling because when all that stuff went down, we had so many people saying, "Guys, get on the air. Guys, get on the air. What's your take? We need a little something."
Yeah.
And that was cool that they would look to us. Whether it was because our whole thing is. We take a lighter side look at the dark side. The dark side being Raider Nation.
We're kind of goofy sometimes. We play around.
We have fun. We want to bring that. We want to bring that to you guys, and we appreciate you guys saying, now's when we need to hear from you. And so that was kind of cool, man.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. We really appreciated that.
Absolutely, yeah. So definitely keep that stuff coming, guys. We appreciate your reaching out to us. You can always email the show anytime, like I mentioned. Call the show. All of our socials, pretty much everything is at Raiders Fan Radio. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're kind of all over the place.
Tell your friends.
Yeah. Tell your friends, tell your friends about Raiders Fan Radio.
Tell that those crazy Cowboy fans in your family.
Yeah. So anyway, so definitely continue to hit us up. We appreciate the interaction from you guys. Can't do it without you. And much love, man. And so hey, next time we talk to you, it will be post week 1. It will be post Raiders Rams, post John Gruden's return to Monday Night Football.
The post show.
The post show. So I'll be in the D lot. So look for me there. We're going to be linking up with. I know with some of our listeners, we're going to be linking up with the guys from Pillaging Podcast. We're going to be doing as much interaction there live as we possibly can. We're going to hand out some swag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great night at the Oakland Coliseum. Man, I know I'm biased. We're biased because we're hardcore Raider fans. But to me, nothing looks better lit up at night than the freaking Oakland Coliseum, man, when everything in the stands is just all blacked out and that dark sky and the green grass all lit up all bright, even with that freaking infield in the middle of it, man. It doesn't get any better, man. And so I can't wait to see it live. I can't wait for everybody to see it live as well. If you're not, even if you're just watching on Monday Night Football, it's going to be gorgeous. I can't wait to hear all the different stories that come out of week 1. Anyways, that's all I got, man. I'm stoked the season is finally here, Uncle Mosh, and can't wait to get this thing underway, see what we got for the 2018 season. Woo!
It's been a long off season.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, it has.
All right.
All right,
Uncle Cockles.
We've already done all of our taglines for the day, so I'm not on the spot anymore. From Del Rio to the Cockles, Raider fans for life.
That's exactly right. So by watching that video, though, don't tell anybody, but by watching that video,